be back, I think, on Thursday afternoon this week. So you're stuck with Fred and Ethan and I, and we're gonna get Ethan real ramped up here right now and pick on Alabama, who does not belong in the CFP, but they are in the CFP. And I don't really care that Notre Dame's not in there either, but come on, man. 3 losses, Alabama. How can you justify that?
Here's how you can justify it.
I just like to press buttons.
This is how
half of my fun today is going to be pressing Ethan's buttons.
This is how you can justify it. Alabama went 10-2 in the regular season, had a top 10 strength of schedule, top 10 strength of record, and top 10 FBI ranking. They were the only team in the country to do that. You're telling me that a team that is the 1 seed in the SEC, the toughest conference by far in college football, they get rewarded by making their conference championship. You're going to punish them for having to play an extra game that they lose. Yes, they lost. They lost to a team they beat earlier in the year. And while other teams are sitting at home watching those teams play, you cannot punish teams for making their conference championships when they're already in the playoffs.
Sadly, I agree with you, and I get that argument. I really do. I understand it. So that, yeah, but here's the other thing. Like, we're having this debate right now, and I don't know what, everyone's going to have their own thoughts about this, but I think it's, poor showing for Notre Dame, because what happened was Notre Dame gets snubbed. They're not in the CFP. Then, what happens typically in college football, the same thing that's happened for decades. You go to a bowl game that means nothing, right? None of them have ever meant anything except for, the national championship games, which have been down to either 2 teams or 4 teams in the last however many years. So now we have a 12-team playoff, which is going to, no doubt expand. But everybody else is essentially playing for bowl games, right? So I read something in The Athletic. Let me put another, spin on this. And I can say that I could maybe even be persuaded here to think of this in another direction. So I'm not sure who wrote this for The Athletic, but they said, walking away from the season looks bad on the surface for Notre Dame. It's taking their golden football and going home. Notre Dame usually gets what it wants, including the full $20 million payout last year for making the title game, money usually given to a school's conference. But they're not in a conference, remember, right? So, but this is a protest vote against the system more than anything, even if Notre Dame hasn't articulated that well. All bowl games outside of the CFP are exhibitions devoid of real stakes. But that's kind of been the case all along, right? So they exist only because enough people watch them on ESPN, this guy says. And now, with Notre Dame sitting on the postseason, fewer will be watching. Maybe. Okay, there's still college football fans out there that aren't Notre Dame fans.
They have a huge market. I mean, there's no arguing that, and their fans won't be watching, so they'll miss out on that.
But I love this guy. This is where I want to get it. I love Marcus Freeman, the coach of Notre Dame. He's really impressed me when I've seen him in interviews, post-game, pre-game, on sets, and I really think that guy has a lot going for him. So what they said in this piece, they said Marcus Freeman likes to say choose hard and challenge everything. At first glance, Notre Dame opting out felt like doing neither, but to talk to enough former players, and the opposite may actually be true. Pulling a pin on the postseason opt-out grenade would have been harder than going through with the charade of wanting to play in a game where no one wanted to be. I mean, there might be something to that, right? The idea of Freeman capping the season by eating a Slammin' Strawberry breakfast treat was a hard pass, because that was like the... It was the
They would have been in the Pop-Tart Bowl.
The Pop-Tart Bowl,
which is
right?
by far the best non-playoff bowl. Let me just add that.
Which, by the way, that's a great line. I love that. And then he says the fact that football careers of a couple of dozen players ended on Sunday is collateral damage. And that's really kind of the sad part, is these kids, they don't get to play again.
Yep.
Also, skipping 15 bowl practices is a negative. Also, yes, Freeman and his staff can flip fully to next season, especially when the transfer portal opens on January 2nd, because if this snub fuels anything, it has to be using this time to build a better version of Notre Dame for 2026. And then this guy says, for the record, the correct order of Notre Dame, Alabama, and Miami should have been Miami 9, Notre Dame 10, Alabama 11. The point of the CFP is not to incentivize playing in conference championship games. And if he mentioned someone here. I'm not sure who he's referring to, so I'll just stop there because I was doing some screen captures. But look, I understand, why they're doing it. I do think it seems like a little bit of a big baby move, and you can stand up and say, okay, well, we didn't get there, but we're going to close strong and give our kids an opportunity to play in this bowl game. But they've decided to go otherwise, haven't they?
I've really appreciated, though, the way that a lot of teams that were also in the mix for that final playoff spot, BYU, Vanderbilt, coming out and saying, like, it's our fault that we didn't make the college football playoff at the end of the day. We were not good enough to. And then also saying, we're excited for our bowl game because we love to play football, and we are excited for the opportunity to play in these bowl games. So I look at Marcus Freeman in this situation. You know, I have family ties to Notre Dame. My mom was born in South Bend, and this is a team that I've always, like, part of me's always pulled for it. But I think this is extremely unprofessional. I mean, you're a football coach. You're not just what percentage of these kids are going to go on to play in the NFL? Very small percentage of them. The rest of them are going to be adults eventually and have to live life. And what is it teaching them if you don't like the outcome of something to go and walk away from it? I think it's extremely unprofessional.
Did they let the kids sort of vote at all or not?
I have no idea. Now the message that was kind of passed along was that a lot of the kids didn't want to play in this, so they, I guess, kind of backed them. But even then, you're the leader of that room. Yeah, it's your decision.
By the way, the other thing is you're going to have, perhaps, maybe not, but you might have a different reaction yesterday at noon or 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon compared to what you might have at this time. In other words, your emotions are going to be pretty raw. You're going to make decisions and say, F them, we're not going to play. But then maybe when you sit back and think about it a little bit, you might feel otherwise. Now, for Notre Dame, it's too late. It doesn't matter. They didn't accept a bid, right? So they're done. But I can see some, lack of buyer's remorse, if you will, with some of the coaches and some of the teammates. Now, what Coach Strink said, I think, is interesting. And he kind of has to say this because he's the coach of a team that obviously eliminated itself from competition from the CFP a few weeks ago with too many losses in the SEC. But he called out Notre Dame.
People say anytime, anywhere. I guess some people mean it, some people don't. So, for us right now, we got an opportunity to go play in a bowl game.
That was the shot against Notre Dame there.
I'm fired up about the opportunity. Everybody's different. Everybody's seasons are totally different. Our goals got changed, when our quarterback got dinged up and injured. And so for us, this is a heck of an opportunity. I think bowl games are really determined by two things. One, the location. What an awesome location to get to play in Jacksonville, Florida at an NFL stadium, have a great experience in Jacksonville. And then the second one is the opponent that you get. I mean, what an awesome thing to get to play the ACC regular season champ, get to play Virginia. I know it didn't end the way they want to, but that's a quality team.
All right, so they're playing in the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida against Virginia. That's the draw for Mizzou. Here's a little more Coach Drink.
I don't like this playoff or bust mentality. I think it's bad for college football. I think it's bad for the sport. I think the playoffs are awesome. I don't think it's nearly inclusive enough. And then I'll just say this, since we're already on this whole thing, just because viewership is up in college football does not mean that college football is healthy. It does not mean that college sports is healthy. It means that viewership is up, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But for us to maintain the success that college sports are having, we've got to look at it, man. Like, there's no way I think that anybody could think that this calendar is healthy. I don't think there's any way that they can think that this is healthy for the student athlete to constantly be transferring and not getting progress towards degree.
Agreed.
To leave college athletics without a degree I think is really bad for the student athlete. I think it's bad for coaches. And we've got to figure all this out because, again, just because viewership is up doesn't mean the sport is healthy.
I sat down with the late Demetrius Johnson with Coach Drink at dinner. This goes back almost probably 3 years, talking about NIL and some of the stuff. So it was my first chance to meet him, and I talked to him several times since. But, I remember at that particular meeting, this whole thing was the Wild Wild West, and, they weren't sure how they were going to handle it. And even then, he agreed that there needed to be, some more rules. I think to a certain extent, the NCAA is still figuring this stuff out. It seems pretty obvious to me that within a couple of years, they're going to expand the playoff. But, Ethan, if you expand the playoff, why wouldn't there be even more of a feeling that the bowls make no difference at all? So if you go to 16 or whatever the number might be, 24, then you say, okay, well, a lot of people are playing for these 8 games or whatever the first round might be. But then you can almost make a stronger case that if you're not playing for that, what else is there, right?
Here's the thing. I would rather, and I heard a well-known college football analyst say this the other day, Josh Pate, said, I would rather have a college football playoff where you are arguing that there's too many good teams and not enough spots than too many spots or not enough teams for what they have. And the reality is that unless you get to 35, 36 teams, there's always going to be teams that think that they should be in. So the problem is not going to change there. The biggest issue with this is the ACC being as bad as they were, because as a result,
because then Duke has 5 losses and they want to get in, right?
And they got in on some crazy tiebreaker over Miami. If Miami gets in the place of Duke, well, then Notre Dame's still in because Miami has a conference championship slot. But because Miami has that at-large spot, you have 2 Group of 5 teams playing in this college football playoff that were barely ranked until the end of the year. Have you seen the spreads on those playoff games?
Well, they're going to be blowouts.
For the Oregon James Madison game, it's
30,
like 21 and a half.
Yeah, it's going to be 30
And for the
points.
Tulane Ole Miss one, it's like 17 and a half.
Yeah. The first round games are not going to be close.
That's the biggest issue with this, and I think that they're going to be tweaking some stuff in the offseason.
So we're kind of bearing the lead because how much fun. This is one of my favorite things in everything. This is not just sports. Some of you would know this at this time. One of my favorite things is how often the experts get it wrong. And I'm watching the pregame for this Indiana-Ohio State game, and there is not a damn person that not only thinks that Indiana might win, but they're not giving them any possibility of a victory over Ohio State, which I thought was just ridiculous. And that made me root for Indiana even more. And then you got this Mendoza kid who could have gone to Mizzou, by the way, who's just incredible. And he comes off at like the 16-year-old kid just getting his driver's license or something.
It sounds so beautiful. I want to give all the glory to God. You're never supposed to be in this position, but by the glory of God, the great coaches, great teammates, everyone we have around us, we were able to pull this off. Whoever thought the Hoosiers would be here, but now the Hoosiers are flipping champs. Let's go!
It's a little hard to hear the audio, but he was excited. He was praising God. And
staring
he's just
straight
like
in
a
the
little
camera.
Kid.
Oh,
yeah.
it was so great.
It was awesome. So we have a couple of Indiana connections and very strong ones here on this show. One is our friend Alex Rich, who I didn't know this, Fred. He ended up going to the game.
Yeah.
And so did Tom Ackerman, who's the sports director at KMOX. So they both have some stories that we're going to share this afternoon. We've got Josh Hammer coming up in a couple of minutes. He wrote a great column about some of this climate alarmism that's falling apart. It's always one of my favorite topics. There's some Supreme Court cases. In fact, one today over presidential power that was interesting, that was argued before the court. Our constitutional law expert, Ilya Shapiro, will join us. We have a Monday edition of Sue's News featuring Ethan, Salena Zito in the next hour. A lot still to come, plus an audio cut of the day on a Monday edition of The Mark Reardon Show.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Some delays if you're headed on the southbound side of 270 from Page down to Olive. We've got a stall. It's in the center lane, worst place for it. 170 southbound just starting to fill in from Delmar down to 64. Westbound 64 from Lindbergh over to 270 is a little bit hot. And the southbound side of 55 is jammed through the work zone from about Gasconade down to Bates. The rest of the roadways hanging in there so far. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I want to talk about getting your bathroom remodeled. Maybe you have a little time here over the holidays with your wife or with your husband to talk about a bathroom remodel. You're curious about it. You think, oh, no, this is going to be way out of the budget. I want to guide you into Michael's Baths here in St. Louis, a very experienced company that is going to take great care of you with quality work and also give you a price that you can afford. They come in typically 30 to 50% less than the competition on the bids. And right now, when you mention my name, you can get a free shower door or $500 off your project. Mike Gower has been running this company for a couple of decades. His daughter Melody will handle the call when you inquire about an estimate. And they use American-made products. They have 5-star reviews on Google, an A+ rating with the BBB, and all they do is bathrooms. So if you're looking for an affordable facelift, you need your shower area to become safer, you get a free quote from Michael's. They'll talk about what you're interested in. And one of the things that I do like to mention occasionally is they work with customers who are approved by the VA for a grant that could pay for most, if not all, of the price of the bathroom project. So that's something to investigate as well. But again, don't forget $500 off or a free shower door when you call michaelsbaths.com, 636-775-0800.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, unfortunately, the host on a Monday forgot to press the button, so we were supposed to start the show right then, but I think Ethan has to put something back in, and we'll be back in 60.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
All right, it's the Mark Reardon Show on a Monday afternoon. A couple of cases that went before the Supreme Court today. Ilya Shapiro is going to join us after the bottom of the hour. And then I mentioned, we had our friend Alex Rich on last Wednesday, and I think he called an audible. Alex played Division I baseball at Indiana. He actually backed up Kyle Schwarber, which means he didn't play very much. But he's a big IU guy, and he was at the win over Ohio State, so he's got some stories to share right before Sue's news. Sue's off today, though. She'll be back on Thursday, taking a few days off for her anniversary. She's been married a year already, which is kind of crazy. We also have some, a lot of sports news this afternoon, including the baseball winter meetings underway. I think we're going to try to visit with Matt Pauley, who's down there this week, as we get moving toward the end of the week. But Frank Cusumano joins us, as he always does on a Monday, and that's coming up at about 4:45 or so. Josh Hammer back with us, Newsweek senior editor-at-large, the host of the Josh Hammer Show. You hear that Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. Josh, how are you this afternoon?
Mark, I'm doing just great. I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving holiday week and a half ago as well, my friend.
It was outstanding. I had my grandson who was in town, so yeah,
wonderful.
It was a lot of fun. And here we are. I can't believe we're sitting like almost 2 weeks before Christmas, which is kind of nuts the way that the time is going by. But one of my favorite topics, I don't know if you and I have ever really talked about this. I've always been over the climate change BS narrative, because I would describe myself, and I don't know how you would label or if you like labels, but I'm not a climate change denier. I understand the climate's changed. There's been periods of warming, but I'm a lukewarmer. So I don't know how much we're actually causing the warming. But here's what I know for sure. I know we can't do anything about it, really, right? So the climate alarmism and the apocalyptic version of what this country might be like right now in 2025. If you go back to the New York Times in 1995, all the beaches were supposed to be gone. All this stuff was supposed to happen. Then you can go to 2004 and read The Guardian with the same predictions of 25 or 30 years. That hasn't happened. Then you can listen to Greta Thunberg from the last 10 years. We're supposed to be underwater. So none of this has really come to fruition. At what point do people stop buying into this nonsense?
Well, Mark, it's not entirely clear that there was a singular moment that I can point to as being the inflection point. But what I did write about in my column this past week was that it occurred to me that at some undefined point, let's call it maybe over the past year, maybe since the election of Donald Trump, it seems to me that if we're trying to take various data points and forge them together to create a political narrative, it seems to me that the left has made something of a conscientious effort to distance itself from the climate change alarmism, catastrophism, whatever you want to call it, that had really characterized them for years and years and years. And the first thing that really caught my eye and started and really kind of galvanized me to do a little further digging was this somewhat remarkable blog post that Bill Gates put up on his website, gatesnotes.com. There was really no one talking about it. It broadly escaped attention, at least in my media circles. And he posted this on October 28th. And it was in advance of the COP30 Climate Change Boondoggle Summit. And he basically said that the so-called doomsday view of climate change is just wrong. He said that this is wrong. That it is wrong to say that the world is going to start burning up, the polar ice caps are going to melt. And let's be clear, this is Bill freaking Gates. I mean, this is the guy
who's been saying all these things for a long time.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's arguably been no one more than like Al Gore. I mean, who was more front and center and publicly identified with this particular change. I mean, in the same blog post, Gates even said that, quote, using more energy is a good thing. More energy, because it's so closely correlated with economic growth. And I read that. I was like, what is going on there? And then I saw in the Wall Street Journal just about a week ago or so, there was this study that came out in a journal called Nature, which is a pretty well-known journal in scientific circles. And they had this study that came out in April 2024. And the study predicted that by the turn of the next century, by the year 2100, unless CO2 emissions and various other emissions are dramatically reduced, they predicted there will be a 62% decline in global economic output. And to little fanfare, they actually formally retracted that study just like a week ago, a year and a half later, because they found that the underlying data was flawed.
Well, wait, let me stop you right there, because this is important. They didn't correct the paper, right? This is an important distinction. They didn't make corrections. They retracted it because they had to.
Correct. It's the most. I don't want to say most shameful, but it really is in some way like the most shameful thing that you can do after publishing an academic study.
Especially after it's been cited 168 times, in other publications.
Right. I mean, exactly right. Nature is a very well-known journal, and their bottom line conclusion was so flawed that they said, you know what, this is bunk, and we have to pull the whole thing a year and a half later. So you look at these data points, and there's some other polling data as well. Long story short, fewer people today are confident that man is the lead contributor to climate change. Fewer people are confident today than they were as recently as 7-8 years ago or so. And it seems like the left is having something of a sobering moment on this issue. And this is a winning issue for Republicans. It's a winning issue for the right for fairly obvious reasons, I would say. And look, I mean, the cynic, as someone who's a GOP partisan, might say, okay, this is going to deprive Republicans of a winning issue. But I think anyone who has the common good, I mean, the general welfare of the American people as their lead concern would say that this is an unambiguously good thing because, frankly, these policies for way too long have harmed way too many people.
Absolutely. And, it is interesting. There is a bunch of things, and they don't get a lot of coverage, to your point, that have kind of happened over the course of the last 6 months, even year, which have really forced this climate house of cards to come falling down. And I have to think to myself, because I've been talking about this on the radio for 3 decades, what if we would have put a lot of that energy about all the climate alarmism and the sky is falling into talking about ways to adapt to the situations that the climate will continue to present, because that's where the focus needs to be. The conversation needs to be about adaptation. Now, Josh, I've always said, look, if we lose California in the whole deal, is that really a big loss anyway? We'll have beachfront property in Las Vegas, so I think there's some wins there. But it would be nice, as someone who has followed this and rolled my eyes at all the nonsense over the years and talked to people like even down, not too far from where I am right now at the University of Missouri, the lead climatologist, Dr. Anthony Lupo, who's been on my show many times, and he's not a climate change alarmist guy. He keeps this into perspective. Dr. Roy Spencer down in Alabama. So there are voices that are saying in this climate debate, they've been there for all these decades, they just don't get amplified the way the rest of these people do. And now maybe we're going to get a little bit back to sanity here on this issue. Sanity, I hope so.
Yeah, it seems that is happening, and it's hard to say. Look, I mean, to be clear, there is an extent of I will believe the full breadth of this when I actually see it. When I see more elected Democratic officials actually talk the talk. It's one thing for Bill Gates, who's non-official, to have something of an intellectual change of heart. I think it's something else for someone like a Jasmine Crockett or an AOC or whatever. So there's an element of I will believe it when the elected officials actually do it. But look, I mean, I guess the most straightforward way to try to analyze this from a political perspective is that if this does actually happen, if the intellectual headwinds actually do translate into real political and public policy changes, is that this is clearly an issue where the left has identified that they are just woefully out of touch. Now, are they going to do the same thing when it comes to other issues where they're woefully out of touch? When it comes to immigration is maybe the single most obvious example. When it comes to the transgender debate and biological males, women's sports and all that, I don't know. I've seen glimmers of it there, and we're going to start to see a lot of this play out sooner rather than later in the 2028 presidential primary, frankly. So we'll start to see just how much this translates. But for now, again, I think it's green shoots. It's encouraging, optimistic signs for the American people.
Josh Hammer with us, Stephanie. What did you make of all of the? I'm concerned that a lot of the people in this country really don't know the depths of this controversy in Minnesota with the Somalis and what we're looking at now, which could be a couple of billion with a B dollars of fraud with the Medicare waste and the fake groups that were supposed to be feeding kids and all that stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable. But again, even politically, I think that Tim Walz has gotten off a little easy on this one.
Oh, yeah. He's gone off extremely easily so far. And by the way, another aspect to this genuine controversy, which is seems to me, based on what I've read thus far, seems to be one of the largest fraud scandals, just elements of public fraud, defrauding of the taxpayer. One of the largest public taxpayer defrauding scandals in American history, frankly, based on what I've gleaned thus far.
I think so.
And one of the elements of this is a little bit of, what did Kamala Harris know and when did she know it? I mean,
Right.
Tim Walz looks bad enough, but let's not forget that Tim Walz was selected as the running mate, and this was well underway. I mean, most of the stuff goes back to COVID. I mean, most of these programs go back to COVID. So if Tim Walz and Keith Ellison and Ilhan Omar and all the various other Democratic elected officials in the state of Minnesota, if they were as complicit in trying to cover this up and try to hush, shoo away any kind of asking questions to apply any kind of public lighter scrutiny and just trying to do so in the name of so-called racism, if they were as complicit as it seems, then, I mean, one of two things, Mark, has to be true when it comes to Kamala Harris. Either one, she knew about it and decided that it was not a big deal. That's pretty insane. Or two, she just had no idea about it, which just proves how grossly incompetent she is, and we kind of knew that all along.
Did they vet at all? Yeah, I mean, was there any vetting? Or do you just, to your point, do they just assume, you know what, we got the media on our side, that's not going to become a story? Josh Hammer with us this afternoon. You can hear him every Saturday at 1 p.m. here on 97.1 FM Talk. You have a great week. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
Ilya Shapiro on deck. We got some cases that went before the Supreme Court in the last few days, including one today about presidential powers that's very interesting.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got 270 on the southbound side. We've got it heavy before Page down to Olive with a stall in the center lane. They're getting that out now, but it's still pretty heavy. 170 southbound, slow from Ladue down to 64. Northbound side from Hanley up to Airport Road. 64 westbound delays go from Hampton to Big Bend, then past McKnight to 270. Eastbound side from Mason to 270, 170 to Big Bend. 44 westbound, starting to see some filling in around Lindbergh to 270. And 55 southbound, heavy now before Gasconade down to Bates. This report is sponsored by the Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
I have a great lineup, a great slew of sponsors, some of whom have been with me for a long time. Morelli Tuck Pointing is in that group in particular, and they've been a long-time sponsor, and they've got a lot of success here in the St. Louis area. I've talked about this story before when my sister called me. My sister is in Chicago. My niece, her daughter lives here. She graduated from SLU, but for a while, my sister and her husband purchased a home for my niece to live in, and it was a money pit, I will tell you that. And one of the things that happened is they had an entire wall that was collapsing, and she had texted me one time and said, "Hey, do you know a tuck pointer?" And I said, "Absolutely. I know the best here in St. Louis. That's Morelli Tuck Pointing." And you could know them too if you need any masonry services at all. Maybe it's something simple, but these jobs can get pretty big, significant, and you don't want to let them go because then more damage could occur. So if you need help when it comes to masonry work here in the city of St. Louis and beyond, if you can hear my voice, they can help you. Tuck pointing, stone foundation repair, spot pointing with color match, chimney repair, brickwork. They do it all. Masonry experts here in St. Louis. Morelli Tuck Pointing, online at morellituckpointing.com or call 314-645-1387.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush. Call Zero Res. Spots are filling up fast, so don't put it off any longer. Lock in your deal today at ZeroResSTL.com, and happy holidays from all of us at Zero Res.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Fox News National, St. Louis Local, 97.1 FM Talk.
I don't understand why it is that the thought that the president gets to control everything can outweigh Congress's clear authority and duty to protect the people in this way.
How did she ever get confirmed or even was in the mix for a nomination for the Supreme Court? That is KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson. There was an interesting case about presidential powers that went before the court today. Ilya Shapiro is back with us, Senior Fellow and Director of Constitutional Studies at the Manhattan Institute. Ilya, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just finished writing an op-ed about this case that we're going to talk about that'll be in the New York Post tomorrow.
Looking forward to it. All right, explain what's at play here with these arguments, and is this another one of those situations where the court has kind of tipped its hand and we sort of know what's going to happen in the decision?
They tipped their hand back in the spring when they paused a lower court ruling involving a different appointee who was fired and was challenging that removal. So the issue here is, does the president get to remove heads of so-called independent agencies? And the theory isn't that complicated. We have three branches of government looking to, ninth grade or the little jingle on TV that I'm dating myself there, Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh yeah.
And so,
I love those.
So every part of government has to be either part of the executive branch, which the president heads up, the legislative branch, which is Congress, or the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. And yet we have all of these alphabet agencies. The one that was discussed in the argument today is the Federal Trade Commission, but whether you're talking about the National Labor Relations Board, the Federal Communications Commission, we can go on all day. It's all we talk about inside the Beltway here around D.C. And if the president doesn't control those appointments, can't remove them because he wants to go with someone who's more aligned with his policies, say, then what part of government is this agency in? Because we only have three. Congress can't create a fourth. And that's what this ultimately comes down to. There's a 90-year-old precedent where the Supreme Court allowed restrictions on presidential control over these agency heads because it said then the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, had a quasi-legislative and a quasi-judicial function in addition to the executive one. Well, whatever was going on in 1935, now the way that these agencies operate are clearly part of the executive branch, and the president should be able to control them. Goes the argument, and I think a clear majority of the court is going to go that way.
So here's Brett Kavanaugh.
I want to give you a chance to deal with the hard hypothetical. When both houses of Congress and president are controlled by the same party, them creating a lot of these independent agencies extending some of the current independent agencies into these kinds of situations so as to thwart future presidents of the opposite party.
So I don't even know what the hell he said there. Maybe you'll have to help me with that, Ilya, but he was kind of offering a hypothetical, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Kavanaugh is definitely one to look at, and Chief Justice Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, and they were deeply skeptical of the challenger's argument that there needs to be some insulation from presidential control.
So how does this apply to this Federal Reserve case? Because I'm reading that some of this has relation to a case that might be heard in January as well. Can you explain that?
Right. So it looks like, and again, that little emergency action that the court took back in the spring that I mentioned earlier, it was only 2 paragraphs, wasn't a full opinion, but they did say at the time that the Federal Reserve may well be different. And during argument that came up this morning, as well as so-called Article I courts, that is the courts in the armed forces, tax courts, patent and intellectual property courts, these specialized bodies that are part of that Congress created. They're not part of the judiciary, but the Article I courts do exercise a judicial power, so we can see how that might be different. And the Federal Reserve, I don't know how they're exactly going to phrase it, but that's everybody's big concern. So it doesn't look like the Federal Reserve will be affected by this decision, and that's why the case that's being argued next month, the Cook case, the removal of Lisa Cook, President Trump isn't even saying that he has the power to remove Federal Reserve members for any reason. He's alleging fraud, that she engaged in shenanigans in some home mortgage applications, right, and therefore is unfit to be on the body that regulates banks.
On the 90-year case from 90 years, is that what's referred to as Humphrey's executor?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. So because I've heard that term and it's been just a little confusing to me, but that's
it's a weird scenario. So this guy Humphreys was appointed to the FTC, and then that was rescinded, and he died while the litigation was pending, and so they wanted back pay. They couldn't obviously reinstate him since he died, so they wanted back pay, with a ruling that he was improperly removed, and ultimately that's what the court did.
All right. So is there a case that's coming before the court that deals with the birthright citizenship issue?
That'll be next term, probably.
Oh, not till next term. Okay.
They just granted it last week, which means depending on how briefing goes, this probably won't be. They probably don't want to expedite the briefing, but it could be. I mean, they could set it have a special session in April or something like they've done with a couple of cases in recent years. So it could be still this term, but more likely it'll be next term. And again, the issue is whether the president had an executive order getting rid of citizenship upon birth in the United States for kids of illegal aliens and those who are here temporarily on tourist visas and the like. And there's a constitutional question, and then there's also the practical one. Even if the Constitution doesn't require it, our laws are set up that way, and that's been our practice for over 100 years. So maybe Congress could do it, but not the president acting alone.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's the outline of the argument.
That's a complicated one. There's no doubt about that. Ilya Shapiro back with us this afternoon. Then the Supreme Court also cleared the way for Texas to use their new map. Is that something that is significant, and will it play in other states, or is every state situation different?
Every state is factually different. I mean, the opinions here coming out of the 3-judge district court in Texas are very fact-bound, both the majority and the dissent. But what the court is effectively doing is, for practical purposes, they didn't want to have a scenario where California was allowed to redistrict for the Democrats' benefit. Texas was not allowed to redistrict for the Republicans' benefit. And I think this whole line of review of districting is going to change once the court rules on a case that it heard argument on back in October regarding of the proper use of race in districting. I think they're going to throw up their hands and say, okay, yeah, if there's a smoking gun saying that you're racially discriminatory, that's one thing, but just drawing districts and then saying, you haven't used race enough to carve out a majority-minority district or something like that, we're not going to entertain that. And once they make a decision like that, as the conventional wisdom suggests they will, then these sorts of challenges to the redistricting of the kind that the lower court blocked in Texas, they will go away.
Let me take you off the court just briefly and onto Israel and anti-Semitism. I just had Josh Hammer on, and you guys know each other pretty well. It's stunning to me. Whenever Josh is on, he retweets the segments, and I cannot believe some of the responses, the anti-Semitic responses that are on just, his posts about the audio from my show. I'm just stunned by it when I read what people say. There was a piece that was in the Wall Street Journal the other day that said pro-Hamas students aren't the source of campus anti-Semitism. Administrators have to look at the root cause. Faculty who have politicized their academic programs and departments. And that's got to be true, and we document this all the time, but that's kind of an interesting take considering the pro-Hamas demonstrations and all that is what really gets the attention. But it's some of these professors and people behind the scenes that are pushing a lot of this stuff.
Well, both things can be true. And in fact, 3 things can be true: the professors, the students, and the administrators who craft the DEI trainings. DEI administrators are some of the most anti-Semitic people in the country in general, based on these surveys, even more than the average faculty member. So yeah, there are problems everywhere, including the admissions office. How did all these students get in? Well, there must be a problem there too.
Excellent. All right, Ilya, thank you so much for joining me on this Monday. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Take care. That's Ilya Shapiro with us this afternoon. Let me read a little bit from that Wall Street Journal piece. I didn't do this on Friday. We had the roundtable. But they kind of bring the receipts and the goods here just a little bit. Over the past few years, departments on more than 100 campuses have issued statements swearing to the Palestinian cause, many of them explicitly endorsing anti-Zionist activism and anti-Israel boycotts. Even among the schools most popular with Jewish students, more than half hosted events sponsored by academic departments that featured pro-boycott speakers last year alone. The worst offenders, this will come as no surprise, Harvard, 44 events, Georgetown, 43 events, Columbia University, 36, UC Berkeley, 25, New York University, 22, and the University of Chicago, 22. So the point of this piece in the Journal was if you work at a university, you are likely to see a constant stream of anti-Israel vitriol from academics. The person who wrote this is from the University of California, some professors from there, Santa Cruz, UCSC, and they said that of the 28 events that some 20 departments have sponsored since October 7th, they featured speakers bitterly hostile to Israel. They talked about something that happened at that school earlier this year that the Department of Education, not the Department of Education, but the Education Department at Santa Cruz put on, which urged prospective early childhood teachers to bring, quote, an anti-Zionist commitment to kindergarten classrooms. The Campus Institute of the Arts and Sciences, despite its genteel title, hosted a 7-week anti-Israel exhibit produced by Al-Haq, which the Israeli government says has links to the liberation of Palestine and the group that is also another terrorist group. It's Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine is the full name, PFLP. So they get into the real details here of how, and we focus on this, and Ilya's right on DEI. This is what they push in some of this stuff. So the people who wrote this in the Journal, we might be able to get some of these people on the air because I thought that was interesting when they ran down the numbers. 3:44. Don't forget, Sue's off today. We got a Monday edition of Sue's News with Ethan coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, 270 southbound. You've got things slow from Page to Manchester, but the crash is gone around Olive. So some good news. 170 southbound jammed up from Airport Road to 70 with the crash working in lane. And then from Ladue down to 64 is a little slow. 64 westbound Kings Highway to Big Bend, slow, then past McKnight to 270. Eastbound from Mason to 270, 170 to Big Bend. And 44 eastbound or westbound, make that, is heavy from Lindbergh to 270. And 55 southbound heavy before Gasconade down to Bates through the work zone. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I want to talk about Michael's Flooring Outlet here in St. Louis. I've been talking a lot about Michael's Baths. Michael's Flooring Outlet, Michael's Baths, two completely different companies, both really good, excellent customer service when it comes to flooring needs, whether you're looking at replacing carpeting with more carpeting, more soft flooring, taking out carpeting, replacing it with hard flooring. That's what we did in our house a little bit more than a year ago with the team at Michael's, and it went extremely well. Now, they deal with some of the best products on the market. Mohawk, like Smart Strand Mohawk Silk, very, very silky and soft. It has 3 times more individual fibers than ordinary nylon carpet, and each strand is packed with 700 silk-like stain-resistant fibers. The technology in some of the flooring is really amazing. Makes it a lot easier to clean up after messes. Then when it comes to the hard flooring products, they have Redwood, they have Redwood Select, Redwood Plus, they have Techwood, they have Ultra Wood. They have all kinds of options depending on your lifestyle and price points as well. And the team at Michael's can guide you through all of this. 3 great locations in St. Charles County at 116 Main Street in Old Town St. Peters. That's the legendary Old Town St. Peters location. At Mid Rivers and 70, they're in West County on Olive. And in Darden Prairie, the website IGotFloor.com.
Give something that means something. Roll up your sleeve at the Odyssey Blood Drive in partnership with the American Red Cross, December 16th through the 19th at multiple locations. Make an appointment in the Red Cross Blood Donor app or at redcrossblood.org. Enter sponsor code Odyssey for a drive near you.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Grandpa had a soft spot for dogs.
Yeah, he always had treats in his pocket.
He said if you're going to take care of people, you better take care of their best friends too.
Is that why we help dog shelters?
That's right. For every service call, we donate 10 pounds of dog food to local dog shelters, helping dogs waiting for a home.
Grandpa would like that.
He sure would.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So we had another interesting moment with President Trump and a member of the media who calls the fake news media ABC today. And I myself will admit that I'm a little confused on this one because I'm going to have to go back and cross-reference something. So on Wednesday, now this is a CNN report, but we talked about it toward the end of the week. On Wednesday, he said that his administration would certainly, that's the word that they have in quote here, release a video of a follow-up strike on the drug vessel in the Caribbean after the initial attack did not kill everyone on board. This has to do with this controversy involving the, whatever you want to call it, the double tap or the second strike. So one of the narratives heading into the weekend is, all right, well, why not? Because a bunch of members of select committees in Washington on Capitol Hill were able to see the video. You might remember what happened on Thursday. We talked about this on the roundtable. It was like they watched two different videos. The Democrats came out of that meeting saying it's one of the worst things they've ever seen. Tom Cotton and others came out saying it was completely justified. So I was under the impression, again, now I'd have to go back and check the audio and see if this was reported accurately, but it appeared as if the president was willing to release the entire tape. So he's asked about that by an ABC reporter today, and it doesn't go very well.
Mr. President, you said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
You said that. I didn't say that. This is ABC fake news.
You said that you would have no problem releasing the full bit. Okay, well, Secretary Hegseth...
Whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
He now says it's under review. Are you ordering the Secretary to release that full video?
Whatever he decides is okay with me. So every boat we knock out of the water, every boat, we save 25,000 American lives. That was a boat loaded up with drugs. I saw the video. They were trying to turn the boat back to where it could float. And we didn't want to see that because that boat was loaded up with drugs just like everything else.
You said that it was up to Secretary Hegseth.
You're the most obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, a terrible reporter. And it's always the same thing with you. I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
I don't know who that... Mary Bruce has been one that's been kind of highlighted at ABC, but I don't think that was her voice, so I'm not sure exactly who he was pointing to. Then he was not in a good mood with the media today.
Quick question. There's at least 20 House Republicans who have either said they're going to retire or not run again. Do you have any
Democrats
concerns
also.
about the...
And Democrats
Right.
also.
Do you have any...
Well, why don't you mention them? How many Democrats are going to retire? How many Democrats?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
But why don't you tell me the number of Democrats, too? You tell me about...
Are you concerned about the narrow margins? And
how many Democrats are retiring? How come you only know the Republicans but not the Democrats?
Because I came prepared to ask you a question about...
No, you're unprepared because you should know the Democrats. You're totally unprepared.
I think Trump had her on that one, right? Yeah, no, she didn't come prepared at all. She is unprepared. Then there's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I don't even know what to say about her. But here's what I do know is 60 Minutes did a story a couple years ago on Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm not sure it was a completely fair story. They showed her working out. I was pretty impressed with her physique. She works out hard, speaking as someone who has very little muscle content whatsoever. But now, of course, the story is she's fighting with Trump. So they want to give her, 60 Minutes isn't going to go to Scott Bessent or someone like Eric Schmidt or someone who's on the side of the president on these issues. They're going to find someone who doesn't like President Trump anymore. And that's what they found in Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, she has decided that she's stepping out of her role as a member of Congress after the first of the year.
I think they're terrified to step out of line and get a nasty Truth Social post on them. Yes.
That was the question that Leslie Stahl asked about whether other Republicans are afraid of Trump.
I have zero plans, zero desire to run for president. I would hate the Senate. I'm not running for governor.
Well, in that case, maybe she's just doing the right thing and just getting out.
He was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files. I fully believe that those women deserve everything they're asking. They're asking for all of it to come out.
She's talking, of course, about the Epstein files.
For an America First president, the number one focus should have been domestic policy, and it wasn't. And so, of course, I was critical because those were my campaign promises. Once we fix everything here, then fine, we'll talk to the rest of the world.
Well, I think that the domestic policy was there from the very beginning. I think the big beautiful bill was certainly on the table from the start. What we do know is that the Republicans, and maybe they're going to try to change this a little bit, they screwed up the marketing of that. And they're going to try to make a little bit more effort or sharpen the messaging going into next year to tell people the benefits of that bill and other pieces of legislation. I think I saw one more cut here by Marjorie Taylor Greene.
It was sudden, but a lot of things changed.
So this is on her decision. Why quit? Because she said, "All right, I'm resigning after the first of the year."
It was sudden, but a lot of things changed. I stood for women who were raped when they were 14 years old. And the president that I fought for 5 years called me a traitor for that.
Yeah, and I don't think that President Trump should have called her a traitor, so maybe she's doing the right thing and just getting out of the way at this time. We'll take a break. We'll be back here, and our friend Alex Rich, who joins us on Wednesday, he's an IU guy. He was at that game when Indiana beat Ohio State. I know that he sent me a text yesterday saying he's got some great stories, so we'll get into that. Salena Zito, who, of course, writes at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Washington Examiner, also on the Free Press, and her new book is called Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. She has some thoughts on the president's visit to northeastern Pennsylvania tomorrow, so that's what they're doing. I just mentioned the economy and sharpening the focus. The president hitting the road tomorrow. He's going to stop in northeastern Pennsylvania. I think the administration knows that this is something that needs to be at the top of their agenda. She was also recently in the Oval Office with her grandchildren. And I don't even think we've talked to Salena since some of this information about Thomas Crooks, the would-be assassin in Pennsylvania, came out. So that's coming up at 4:30.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we've got some slowdowns if you're headed on 270 southbound Page to Manchester. 170 southbound jammed up from Airport down to 70 because of an earlier crash. They're clearing that now. And then slowly due to 64 westbound. Slow Kings Highway to Big Bend past McKnight to 270. Eastbound side Mason to 270, 170 to Big Bend. 55 southbound pretty heavy. Now Gasconade down to Bates through the work zone. This report is sponsored by Aspen Contracting. Siding by Aspen.com. Don't let cracked or missing siding leave your home vulnerable to St. Louis's weather. Aspen Contracting has the crews and project managers ready to protect your home and restore its beauty. Call Aspen today for your free siding inspection at 636-465-1696. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, I want to get you guys out to visit my friend Matt Lawrence at Game Day Men's Health, and he's got an awesome location in Chesterfield, which is right at 6440 and Clarkson and Olive. And, one of the things that Matt tells me all the time is he knows how busy many of you are. So in this particular offer that I'm about to put on the table, you don't have to worry about taking a day off of work or even carving out an entire half a day or something like that. They pride themselves at Game Day Men's Health on a 1-hour visit. Your initial visit is a free testosterone PSA test. In that 1 hour, you can get the test results and a full consultation. And they do it right. You have a room of board-certified men's health medical professionals. They have all kinds of things that they can also offer you. Maybe it's medical weight loss. They have their own pharmacy, which allows them to offer very safe and effective medicine from their own FDA-certified pharmacy. The prices are great. The treatment plans developed and supervised by their board-certified medical professionals. So they have great solutions. They have great ED solutions for you as well that are affordable. And again, the pricing is very simple for you. You're going to really, really like the customer service experience. Game Day Men's Health, 3 locations. I'm partial to that one in Chesterfield, but they're also in O'Fallon, Missouri, and in Glen Carbon, Illinois. The website, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Guys, get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. call. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
When it comes to affordable term life insurance, everyone's whistling the Big Lou tune. If you're over 50, maybe a bit porky, or have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost about $200 a month. Even if you're not in perfect health, call Big Lou, because he specializes in finding big chunks of affordable term life insurance for just about everyone. Don't let diabetes or other health glitches keep you from owning $500,000 to $1 million or more of term life insurance. For affordable term life insurance, call Big Lou. Don't hesitate. Call 800-700-6898, 800-700-6898, or visit biglou.com.
Call Big Lou, don't hesitate. 800-700-6898. Call Big Lou, don't hesitate. 800-700-6898. Visit biglou.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
A clock is still ticking on Capitol Hill. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Weeks after a government shutdown, largely over health care, the key issue remains unresolved. And the president says he wants to bypass insurance companies to bring down the cost of health care.
With Affordable Care Act premiums set to spike and tax subsidies expiring, President Trump says he wants federal funding to go straight to taxpayers.
I want to pay the people, and I want the people to go out and buy their own health care. And that's what we want to do, and that's what the Republicans want to do.
The president accused insurance companies of being owned by Democrats. Democrats are urging a 3-year extension of health care tax credits. A GOP plan would create federal health savings accounts and allow states to opt out of the Affordable Care Act.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. A bipartisan coalition in Congress has been working on a reform plan that does not have backing from party leaders on either side. The president taking questions after announcing a $12 billion relief plan for U.S. farmers using tariff revenues.
This relief will provide much needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops. And it'll help them continue their efforts to lower food prices for American families.
This a day before the president heads to Pennsylvania with a focus on affordability, aiming to counter a Democrat message that his policies are making costs worse, not better. The president just posting that NVIDIA will be allowed to send its H200 chips to China and other countries, but only to approved customers and under conditions allowing for continued strong national security. The Commerce Department's still finalizing details, but President Trump says the same approach will apply to other U.S. companies. And he notes that NVIDIA's U.S. customers are already moving forward with the company's more advanced Blackwell chips. America's listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast!
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Even with more and more sunshine returning as we go through our Monday afternoon, it's a cold one, 32-33. Tonight, partly cloudy, 26. Tuesday, cold start, but sunny skies dominate all day Tuesday, and it's warmer. 51 for the high Tuesday afternoon. Last time we were 50-plus was back November 25th. Still okay Wednesday, but then more cold air. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, unfortunately, Sue's off for a few days. She'll be back on Thursday. We got Fred, the Hall of Famer, in the room. Ethan Hannaford is here. And on Wednesdays, we visit with our friend Alex Rich. And we've mentioned this many times. He is an IU and Indiana alum, played baseball for IU. And I'm watching his social media over the weekend. And Fred, do you remember, did Alex tell us that he was going to the Big Ten championship game?
I don't know. I know he said he was going to buy a ticket to Miami just in case.
Just in case for the championship game, right? So what's the story here, Mr. Indiana? How are you? Congratulations.
Oh, appreciate it. You know, I'm over here on cloud nine. What a weekend, huh? What a weekend. And I didn't say that I was going because it was kind of up in the air. Until Saturday morning, trying to convince my buddy Scott to go with me. And we were watching ticket prices, but what a lot of people don't know is the basketball team was playing Louisville in Indianapolis as well the same day. So we actually drove up at that morning and went to the basketball game at 2 o'clock at the field house there downtown. So Indy was popping off because you got to figure it'd be like equivalent to if Mizzou played basketball and football downtown in St. Louis the same day,
right,
and was 45 minutes closer to St. Louis. So it was a crazy day. So we go to the basketball game. Ticket prices for the football game weren't looking good, weren't dropping. So we were staying hopeful. We went over to the stadium, started walking around outside of Lucas Oil, just trying to figure out, okay, if StubHub or online's not dropping, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, do people still stand outside
with
and
regular
scalp
tickets? Yeah, right. We did talk about that. Yeah.
So we were kind of walking around and just hearing different people. Some guy, this is honestly, one of the craziest things that I've ever personally done at a sporting event. So one of the guys is like, 2 tickets. And I overhear him and I go over and I'm like, hey man, how much for the 2 tickets? Where are they? And he's like, $200, follow $200 a piece, follow me. And I'm like, well, where are the tickets? Kind of asking a few more questions. And he's like, well, follow me, $200 a piece. And I'm like, that's fine, but I'm not paying you until we get into the stadium. If you're saying follow you. So at this point, I'm thinking maybe this dude's like a worker or something, and he's off duty, and he's got some deal with another buddy that's working a back door, and he's gonna like walk us in or something. At this point, to be honest with you, I didn't really care how I got in. At this point, okay, I think I had accepted that if this was going to cost me $500 or $600, so be it. We were going to be there at the Big Ten Big Ten championship game and have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So we follow him, and like he kind of turns back around and he's like, actually, let's try to go in. Let's go in like this front entrance over here.
Oh my gosh.
So meanwhile, my buddy Baker is like, he's like, hey man, like, we're not doing this. Like, where are the tickets? Talking to the guy, and the guy like seems very confident. So we're going along with it. And at this point, like, me and my buddy are looking at each other, and we're just kind of like, screw it. Like, at this point, we're committed. So let's just see what happens.
Had you given him any money at that point?
No money.
Okay,
at this
so
point.
you're just kind of waiting for him to guide you into wherever this might be.
Sure, at this point, we got really nothing to lose. We have no ticket. We've not paid anybody anything yet. We're seeing what plays out. And so this guy's got like an Indiana lanyard that you would buy at a dollar store around his neck. And there's nothing attached to the other end of the lanyard.
Uh-oh.
Like, so he's got it tucked into his shirt. And I'm kind of like start piecing things together, like where this is going. And so there's probably 4,000 people in the line waiting to get in, and somehow this guy finds like an opening, hop in, and we walk up like to where they're scanning the tickets, and this guy, he's just like points to like his neck where the lanyard's at, and he's like, "Oh, which by the way, we are media, so I certainly know that this is not how this works."
Right.
He points to his neck and he goes, "I'm media. I got these two." The woman let us walk right in to Lucas Oil Stadium.
You've got to be kidding me.
Walk in, no ticket scanned, nothing. As a matter of fact, they gave every person that came in and got their ticket scanned a wristband with a light on it.
Right,
like
yeah.
the whole, I got two of those. So once we put those on, we were official. We were legit. And so we get in and we're like, at this point, kind of looking over our shoulder, like, did we really just walk in? Like, there's no way. And so we pull off to the side in the concourse, and we're like, the guy was stuck to his word. I mean, he's sketchy as can be, but I guess somehow he walked us in, and so we start trying to pay him on Cash App or Venmo or whatever. And luckily for me, my phone didn't charge or didn't load and go through, so no payments went through on my end. But then my buddy tried, and of course, these scammers try to not use Venmo for whatever reason. And we found out the reason because when we went to try to Venmo them, Venmo blocked the payment, and it was like, this is a scam, whatever.
Oh, wow.
So I said, listen, man, we'll pay you when we leave here. It's not going to work at the moment right now. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry. I appreciate you getting us in. And I said, listen, I got $75 in my pocket right here. I'm going to give you this. I'll get you the rest later. And we, have a great night. And we just walked away. And we were in the Big Ten championship game.
Okay. Then did you ever see him again?
Well, he sent a screenshot of my buddy's Venmo to me this morning, actually. And he said, "Don't think I've forgotten."
Oh, no. So he sneaks you in. Where did you sit? Because you sent me a picture and it looked like your seats were pretty good.
Great seats, great standing room. We got behind an end zone for a while. Actually, the story I completely forget a part. When we get in, we're in the standing room, and we're talking to these two nice guys that are just standing there watching the game in the standing room area with us. Lucas Oil seats 80,000 people or something, right? Would you believe that I said to these guys, man, how much did you guys pay for your standing room tickets? When'd you get them? How'd you get where'd you get them from? All these things. And the guy looks at me, and I'm not kidding you. He says, "Dude, if I told you the story, I don't think you'd ever believe me." And I look at my buddy, and I look back at this guy, and I go, "Don't tell me, dude, some guy just walked you in through the gate."
Way.
And he goes, "Yeah, dude, $200 a piece. We got right in."
Oh my God! So he must have had something going with that particular ticket taker, don't you think? Where she's getting a cut.
That's the only thing I can think of at this point, because honestly, it's think about all these sporting events that you've been to, and I consider this, honestly, look, Big Ten championship game, Indiana's in it for the first time ever, and it's in downtown Indy. I seriously do compare this to if somebody were to just walk into the World Series at Busch Stadium.
Well, let me tell you a story, and this was post 9/11. So the 2002 Major League All-Star game, I was in Milwaukee at that time. You might remember this, Alex. It's the only game that ever ended in a tie, so it was very controversial, right? So I was working at WTMJ, radio and television. My now wife was working also on the radio side, but at WTMJ. I buy a strip of tickets for the All-Star game, and it was – I think there were $600 a pop, so $1,200 for two tickets. Now that gets you three different things. The home run derby, the softball game on Sunday or whatever like that, and the game. But Becky, having worked in the media, put a bunch of lanyards on that looked official. She parked again. This is post 9/11. This is right after now. She parks in the in the area that kind of goes down into the bowels of the stadium. And she's like, I got to get this tape to this person from Channel 4. She completely, so I'm sitting in my very expensive seats along the right field line, which were really good seats, and she's waving to me from Friday's front row. Friday's front row, they have a Friday's restaurant at Miller Park, and the front row is where they actually have seating. And not only did she sneak in, but she had all these little gifts there on the table waiting for her when she got there, and it was unbelievable. So sometimes if you just act like you knew what I don't have the cojones to do it. Some people do. So are you going to pay this guy?
Well, look, the only thing this guy did for us was convince two morons to trust him and follow him into the stadium. I'm not paying a scammer. And I'm taking a stand and I say, you know what? It's time that this scammer got scammed and I'm scamming him.
Oh, wow.
Alex is scamming the scammer.
You know, if you guys lose the national championship game, it's your fault because the karma is going to come back and bite you in the ass. You realize that, right? If you guys, I'm telling Kurt Signetti this story.
Well, look, I look at it as, my buddy and I joked, Baker and I laughed. I said, hey, man, do you think we should fly this guy down to Miami with us to sneak us in to the national championship?
That's a good idea. Oh, my God. Then, did you tell me you also had, you're going to have to save this one for Wednesday. Did you also say you had a good Comfort Inn story to share?
Oh, the Comfort Inn was something else.
Well,
that
hold on.
That was a whole nother thing that we'll dive deep into that on that gets a little, you know how the Comfort Inn can get.
Well, I can't wait for that on Wednesday, but this is an incredible
one
story.
One of one story.
Yeah.
So
we'll air this one at the end of the year, won't we, Ethan?
Oh, yes.
It's now Christmas week, and you're listening to this story. I can almost guarantee you that is crazy. Really
I'll leave you guys with this. Go Hoosiers.
Yeah, look, I was rooting for them, and I told you, and I told Tommy Ackerman this too. I watched all the pregame, and nobody's not even giving an inch to Indiana as a possible winner in that game.
Right.
And it's so great to see all the experts go down, and in particular, the Ohio State University. Alex, we'll see you Wednesday.
We'll see you then.
That guy gets into so much.
Only Alex.
Only Alex.
Was unreal.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Now, things have actually gotten better out there. 270 southbound, some slow spots from Olive down to Tesson Ferry. We've got 170 southbound, slow Forest Park Parkway down to 64. 64 westbound, just get a Kings Highway over to Clayton. 44 westbound, past Lindbergh to 270 on that ramp to southbound 270 is kind of full. 55 southbound, slow past Arsenal down to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Oh, let's talk about my friends at Banner Construction. They do great work here in St. Louis. They've been doing it since 1993. And maybe you're someone who is recognizing, like at this very moment in real time, that your windows are not working very well for you. You're going to feel that the next couple of mornings. If you do not have energy-efficient windows, they're going to let all the warm air escape and the cold air is going to get in. Let's do something about it because Banner Construction can show you what a difference James Hardy fiber cement siding can do and Pella windows can do for your home. They're going to make it the best looking home in the neighborhood, and that's exactly what they do. You can choose from a variety of energy efficient brands and window price points, but they do feature Pella windows. Great company, legendary in business, 100 years as of this year. They're just wrapping up their 100th year anniversary celebration. And Banner, of course, is an elite preferred James Hardy specialist and an elite certified Pella contractor. So if you need some work done at your house, this is the time to get going on a project for 2026. Call 314-569-1050 or the website bannerconstruction.com.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is hiring residential garage door technicians and installers. Apply today, get a call today. Hiring bonus up to $4,000. Benefits include health, dental, vision, and pension. Apply today at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code NEXT for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code NEXT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code NEXT.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Claire Haver, a board-certified OBGYN and menopause specialist. My new podcast, Unpaused, is the place for bold, unfiltered conversations about what it really takes for women to thrive in the second half of life. Every week, I sit down with medical experts, cultural icons, and powerhouse women to talk about what really matters. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Listen to and follow Unpaused with me, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is The Mark Reardon Show.
All right, so Monday afternoon on 97.1 FM Talk, Salena Zito is joining us at the bottom of the hour. Always great to hook up with her. Of course, she wrote a book about what happened in Butler called Butler, the Untold Story of the near assassination of Donald Trump and the fight for America's heartland. But Mr. Trump, the president, is going to northeastern Pennsylvania tomorrow to kind of sharpen his focus on, and the Republicans' focus on, an economic agenda and message. And Selena's going to be there for that.
And she also has a great story about going into the Oval Office with her grandchildren.
I know. I can't wait to hear that. You were telling me about that, so I'm looking forward to it. Right now, Sue's not here, but we're still going to do this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Except it's brought to you by Ethan today.
Yeah,
it is
right.
a pleasure to be filling in for the one and only Sue Thomas. Okay, we'll start it the way we always do. Today is National Brownie Day.
The food brownie, the food as opposed to brownie Girl Scouts?
It's a valid question, Fred. It is
Wait,
a valid question.
Is that a type of
well, like if
Girl
you're
Scout
if you're a
cookie?
Girl Scout, no. Oh my gosh, do we have to educate him on what brownies are? So before you become a Girl Scout, like an official Girl Scout, you're like a younger Girl Scout, and they call those brownies, right? So Fred's question is not invalid. When you're talking about Brownie Day, is it the food brownies that we eat, or is it the brownies that are the Girl Scouts?
First off, one, why the hell would I know that? You're like, oh, we have to educate him what a brownie is. Why do you know what a brownie is?
It's because my daughter's been one.
Okay, that's all right. That's a fair reason. And
my
two,
sisters.
Two, it is the food brownie.
Okay, that's
this
what
is
we
not
assumed.
dedicated to Girl Scout preemies. That's not
What's that line from? Remember the Addams Family movie when they were talking about Girl Scout cookies, and she goes, "Are they made from real Girl Scouts?" Which I thought was a great line. Anyway, yes, it's the food.
I think that I don't know. What do you guys think? Are brownie top 3 dessert food? They might be. They're right on the edge there.
Ice cream.
Ice cream
like
and chocolate chip cookies.
See, that's
are,
the thing,
are
Fred.
top 2 for me.
I like a nice soft brownie, a little powdered sugar, and then some ice cream with that. Yeah, that's good.
That's pretty good. I think they make a pretty compelling case for top 3. Okay, so if you have big plans this month, then you're officially a holiday psycho, is what I'm being told according to polling throughout the country. 1,000 Americans were asked how many December things they planned on doing this month, and I have the list for you, gentlemen. I would love to hear if you guys plan on doing any of these things, and if so, maybe you are a holiday psycho as well. The first one's pretty easy. I feel like everyone listens to Christmas music. Yes?
Yeah.
75% of people will intentionally put some on during this month. Another 8% said they might. 16% said they will do everything they possibly can to avoid it. We call them humbugs.
Yeah.
72% will watch a holiday movie. 70% will go looking at Christmas lights, as well as exchange presents with someone. 67% will drink hot chocolate. 66% will decorate a tree. 56% will put lights up. 48% will bake cookies. 45% will go to at least one holiday party. 43% will donate to a charity. And 41% will send a holiday card. Is there any of these that you guys don't do?
We're pretty bad at sending out cards. Becky always this is what we're going to use for our Christmas card. And then we never send them out. So we're not very good at that.
You know which one I was surprised by? Only 37% of people will attend a religious service. Can you imagine what this percentage would have been, a couple decades ago?
It would have been a lot higher.
I bet it was
go back
double
40
this.
years. Yep, I do too.
20% will kiss someone under the mistletoe.
That seems low too.
That does seem low. What is happening to our country? I'm so disappointed with Americans.
Here's what I would say is ordinarily I would be playing a little Christmas bumper music here on the Mark Reardon Show leading up to Christmas, but my bumper music has been robbed from me, so I have no say in that,
I'm sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
My deepest sympathies to
Well,
you.
but
How the Grinch stole Mark's bumpers.
That's
right.
I'd like to play a little music, but I have no control.
Well, then send me some.
Okay. You want me to, really?
I'm sure that Trisha would not.
I was told I was making you producers work too hard. That's what I was told.
Listen.
There were complaints filed. There were EOC,
Hey.
HR complaints. I think some people took it to the governor, all this stuff.
I just do what I'm told. That's all that happens here on this side, okay?
Keep doing your thing here.
We have 17 days until Christmas. Boy, time is flying by. And U.S. Weekly, this is funny. This says U.S. Weekly put together a ranked list of the best Christmas movies of all time, but the list is according to their IMDb score. So really, it's based on an IMDb score, not anything to do with U.S. Weekly.
Us Weekly, by the way. But that's okay. You're too young to know that, too. That's like a magazine. It's like People Magazine and Us Magazine.
Okay. Oh,
that's
God.
All right. That's all right.
Okay, we're going to start with number 10.
We're going to get you there. We'll get you to Christmas Day. You're going to make it.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Mark Reardon. Love Actually comes in at number 10 on the list, followed by National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, a movie that Sue Thomas has not seen in its entirety. Makes me sick. At number 8 is The Bishop's Wife. That's followed by White Christmas. Coming in at number 6, I think it's a little bit low, is Home Alone. I'm pretty upset with number 5, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, come on. This list is ridiculous.
Number 4.
By the way, that's a great movie. It really is. But
top 5
no.
Christmas movies?
No.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Number 4, A Christmas Story. Great movie. That's probably my number 1
in the
personally.
top 5.
Number 3, Miracle on 34th Street.
Right.
Number 2 is A Christmas Carol. And number 1, we have a little bit of the trailer.
Well, who are you? I told you, George, I'm your guardian angel.
What is it you want, Barry? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
It's a Wonderful Life comes in at number 1.
That's always been my favorite, but Elf is really up
Me
there.
too. I'm with Fred. I'll put those in the top 2. And if you would have asked me 40 years ago, I would have absolutely said It's a Wonderful Life because that was before Elf. But that is not only, by the way, It's a Wonderful Life, which came out to terrible box office and reviews. That's one of my favorite movies of all time outside of Christmas movies.
You know, we grew up watching that every single Christmas night. And when you're a kid, it's black and white. It's a little bit slow. It's like, oh.
Yeah, no,
The older I've gotten, the more I appreciate that
Yeah.
movie. Great. It's such a good message, and it's just, it's a great movie. So I really like that one. Although, like I said, A Christmas Story would be number 1 for me. Okay, we're going to walk through some On This Day in history here.
The Bishop's Wife in the top. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't either.
Just go ahead. Sorry.
Nicki Minaj is 43 today, by the way.
Okay.
That I don't know. That really shocked me when I realized that she was already in her 40s. In 1941, 84 years ago today, the United States entered World War II as Congress declared war on Japan a day after their attack on Pearl Harbor.
You kind of forgot about that because it happened on the weekend, right?
45 years ago, in 1980, John Lennon was shot and killed outside his New York City apartment building. Mark David Chapman, a former mental patient who had earlier that day asked for and received Lennon's autograph, was arrested and convicted for the killing. He is still in prison, and he's been eligible for parole 14 times, but has been denied every single time. As we continue on with this day in history, in 2005, a wrecking ball brought down the final sections of Busch Stadium 2. As the process for Busch Stadium 3 was being completed. And then 1 year ago, today in 2024, Taylor Swift thanked her fans and concluded the Eras Tour, which I think we could probably all agree has been the biggest tour in concert history. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap with our random fact of the day. Here we have it. This is a good one. If you don't include Super Bowls, the biggest delivery day in Domino's Pizza history is the day of the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase in June of 1994.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we were all captivated.
And that is Ethan's news.
And it was a Friday night, I think, too. So that might have something to do with it, if I'm not
crazy.
mistaken. Thank you, Ethan. Sue's back on Thursday. We have Salena Zito coming up.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. President Trump said on Monday afternoon that the U.S. will allow tech giant NVIDIA to ship its H200 artificial intelligence chips to approved customers in China and elsewhere. He added that there will be conditions set in place, including 25% of the sales going to the U.S. to help fund national security. The White House also announced a short-term aid package for farmers today, and this as longer-term trade and aid packages are being finalized. The expectation is that these funds will be in farmers' hands by the end of the month. The amount is expected to be around $12 billion. Wall Street seeing red across the board today. The Dow Industrial Average down 215 points, ending this session at 47,738. The Nasdaq lost 32. The S&P 500 off 24. IBM has a deal for data infrastructure company Confluent worth around $11 billion. Confluent provides technology in order to manage real-time data used in some big AI models. That's Your Money Now.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code COOL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code COOL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code COOL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
This is a great time for you to get in touch with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, and they would love to give you a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator. They kick in right away with propane or natural gas when the power goes out to your home. We had Tim Fitch on the show on Friday. He took advantage of this. He heard me talking about Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. I think Brad Young as well. You give yourself peace of mind and think about it. It might be an ice storm here in the coming weeks. It could be a tornado in the spring. It could be just the power grid failing, and we've had that happen in other states, and we know how old the infrastructure is. So this gives you the ability to not worry about waiting on hold and calling the power company. You don't have to worry if your home, loses power when you're away, if you're on vacation or something like that. The food spoils. You get power that kicks in right away. They're not portable generators, high-quality generators that are installed by professionals and maintained for the warranty by professionals as well. So don't wait for that next storm or outage. Call Generator Supercenter today. It's a free estimate. They're out in Chesterfield on the airport road. You can swing in or call 314-499-2020. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I know I talked about this a little bit on Friday, but there was some amazing reporting in the Free Press about this gender-affirming care nonsense. Leor Sapir, who's been a guest many times on the show, wrote about this, and we're going to have him after the top of the hour. Right now, Salena Zito back with us. She, of course, is the author of Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. You can read her pieces at salenazito.com. I hear you're on injured reserve lately. Are you doing okay, Salena?
Yeah, for 10 weeks I was not walking. That doesn't mean I wasn't working, but I wasn't walking. I broke my leg backwards. That was fun. And but I'm walking now. Had to relearn how to walk.
What does backwards mean, and what the hell did you do to yourself? Can you share?
You don't want to know
Oh, really?
what backwards means?
Okay.
No. It was a really bad break. It was not anything like death-defying, right? The whole day I had been in a coal mine, 1,200 feet underground. Nothing happened. But I come home and go to swat a fly, and I slipped on something wet on my on my hardwood floor, and
Next
the
thing
leg
you know,
went not the way a leg is supposed to go.
wow. Yeah, it's the kind of play that if we had cameras in your living room, we wouldn't show the replay on TV, right? Just like in a football game. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, also on a personal note, did I hear that you were in the Oval Office with President Donald J. Trump with some grandchildren?
Oh yeah, your listeners should really go to my Twitter page. It's at Zito Salena, and it's right in my pinned tweet. And you see my little 2-year-old grandson, Rocco. All 4 of them were there. That they didn't tear the place down is I don't know. It's a Christmas miracle. But my little 2-year-old grandson just walks up to the president and says, "What's your name?" And President Trump says, "My name is Donald." And I think there's like 200 million views of it on the White House website.
I am going to get that audio right now because I did not see that. Just went to your page, but we're going to play that maybe by the end of the interview. That is amazing. It really is. Now, on the topic of the president, he is going to be in Pennsylvania tomorrow and I was talking about this a little bit on the start of the show. Look, there's a feeling out there, even amongst maybe some Republicans, that the GOP has not done itself any favors when it comes to really defining its economic message. So are they going to try to turn that around a little bit? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, I think what you're going to hear from the president tomorrow is that he's going to reinforce the things that he's already done to make the economy better. In manufacturing, in AI, the development of AI data power centers, which are going to be a big thing across the industrial Midwest, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, places like that, because these data power centers need energy, and you will find that big, deep resource of energy. Also in Missouri and Illinois as well, there's plenty of coal and nuclear and in Pennsylvania in particular, natural gas that will supply that energy. That means jobs. So he'll be talking about that and the resurgence of the steel industry. You saw what happened in Granite City. With firing the furnace back up at the steel plant there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people understand the breadth of this, because I've been covering and have lived in the Rust Belt all my life. When they shut a furnace down, they never turn them back on. Never. When a furnace is shut down, workers know that's it. That's the end. It ain't never coming back. So this is a monumental deal. It's 500 jobs. You multiply that by at least 7 of the jobs that are downstream of it, not including barbershops, gas stations, mom and pop stores, places like that. It has a multiplying effect that's really, really important. And if the steel industry is robust, if they're reopening furnaces, that means other industries are booming. The car industry, construction, appliances, all those things, the building of roads and bridges, all those things require steel. So if American steel is on its way back, that is going to trickle down to a number of different places within our economy. So I think you'll hear him talk about that. He's going to talk about farmers and the importance of making sure that their industry and what they do is robust, because that, our farmers drive pretty much like steel that drives the economy as well. And you'll also hear him talk about getting costs down. So moving some tariffs around to bring some of the costs down is going to be part of his plan. And Democrats have made a big deal, right, about him saying it's a hoax, and twisting around what he said when he said it was a hoax. What he was saying was a hoax was, context is so dead in this world, right?
I point that out all the time.
What he said was a hoax was them all of a sudden caring about the economy. Remember snackflation, right? Like Biden blamed the snack industry on inflation and didn't take any account for this. And I think that so I think that's what strikes President Trump as disingenuous. Of course, he doesn't use the word disingenuous. He says hoax. And then Chuck Schumer said, well, he's saying that your problems are a hoax. And then all of a sudden that's repeated by 92 different Democrats and all the members of the media. And so I think you'll hear a robust speech from him
Well,
tomorrow.
he said the same thing on the Epstein files. He's not calling the Epstein files or the whole incident a hoax. He's calling the, involvement that people are trying to, align with him or drag him into it, I think, the hoax. So sometimes there is context that's missing from the president. On the Granite City front, let me focus on that a little bit because I'm glad you brought that up. Look, that used to be such an important part of our economy here in St. Louis. Look, my ex-wife, her father worked in the steel industry, used to drive like 90 minutes to and from work in Illinois every day because he lived down in Farmington. But they're going to hire 400 people. So that, to your point, is huge because it never, ever happens.
No, it doesn't ever happen. You never, ever see a plant, a furnace. You'll see plants reopen, but you never see a furnace turned back on. It takes days almost weeks to turn a furnace off, let alone turn it back on. So this is incredibly significant. This means they mean business. This means this is real. It's not, something for, a display, right? And so I think that's really, really important.
So we haven't spoken in a little bit because of your injury, just because of the holidays and everything, but was there something that wasn't there something that happened a few weeks ago with Thomas Crooks where we found out some information about the FBI and how they bungled some of this? Because you wrote a book about that, of course, but we all feel like we still don't know a lot about that dude. And are we still going to find out more about him? Because there was some information that kind of leaked out a few weeks ago, wasn't there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that there's any more there.
Really?
I'm not saying there's not, but I think, what happens when there is a lack of information, when there's a void of information, that when you don't give all the information out or there isn't a lot to give out, that's when conspiracies start to fill up. And that's when questions start to arise. But this is a young man, based on all of the reporting that I did and based on talking to authorities and really staking out the neighborhood. This is a young man who was already inward, right? Mm-hmm. Quiet person that suffered some sort of, and it's in the book, it's in the FBI filings too, that according to interviews with his dad, suffered some sort of mental break in November of 23. And
never recovered.
No, and you really feel for parents, but then you also get mad at parents that don't do anything, right? Like you're watching your child just disintegrate in front of you, and like, what do you do? And we don't in our culture really. It's still sort of something we don't talk about is mental illness and mental breakdowns, right?
Well,
but it's very real, and it happens to people, and average people are not equipped to handle it.
Yes.
And there's a stigma associated with it, right? And there's also that thinking when you're a parent, you could go two ways of thinking. I'm going to fix my child. I can make this better. Or I don't care. We don't know where that father
Yeah, no, and I get that. And look, it resonates with me more than anyone else because as you spent 10 weeks hobbling around with a broken leg, I missed, and you don't know this, I think, I missed 8 weeks of work over the summer, Salena, because of mental health and anxiety and depression. And I had experienced it about 13 years ago. It whacked me when I came back from Greece in April. It got really bad. Luckily, I got, some different medication at work, but I missed 8 weeks of work over the summer with mental health. So I talk about it a lot because there's a lot of relatability. And yes, to your point, the resources, unfortunately, are very, very thin.
Yeah, we just don't. There's such a stigma associated with it, and when we started not institutionalizing people, and I'm not saying the institutional system was great. It wasn't. It needed fixed. But instead of fixing it, what we did is say, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. And what we did for people that really desperately need help is shut off any serious help that they could get. And parents don't know where to go, or they don't want to deal with it, which is then the crime.
Yeah,
right.
It's a double whammy sometimes. And look, even if I'm very lucky and I'm a little privileged, and sometimes I use that privilege, but for most people, just to get with a doctor, it could take weeks, if not months. And it's a crisis for sure. All right, let's close on a positive note here. Here we go. Ethan pulled the audio. Here is Rocco with President Donald J. Trump, Selena's grandson.
You want one, honey? You want one? He's got a lot of Italian blood in him. That's for you.
Well, you must know what your name is.
My name is Donald. Okay, do you want a pen? Want a pen? 1, 2, 3.
That's amazing. And they will have that moment for the rest of their lives, won't they?
It was so adorable. And little Rocco, he's like a little kid, right? 3 years old now. Traditionally, he's the last of 4 kids. Traditionally, he sounds like a construction worker that smokes 3 packs a day, right? Like, he's pretty loud because you have to be when you're the 4th kid.
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
yeah.
he had that tiny little voice. I'm like, who's that kid? That's not who I see every day.
That's funny. Well, a little intimidation in the Oval Office. Selena, I hope you're healing well. We'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Heavy from Delmar down to 64. Northbound side 70 to Airport Road. 270 southbound spots go for Page down to Gravois. On the northbound side, you're clear. 64 westbound heavy from Kings Highway to Big Bend. Eastbound side 170 to Big Bend a bit slow. 44 westbound from Lindbergh onto that ramp to 270 southbound is a little full. And 55 southbound heavy Arsenal down to Broadway. We had an earlier stall in the right lane. They've cleared that out of the way. This report is sponsored by the Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Had a great lunch on Friday afternoon at the Missouri Athletic Club in the West location, which is my home location, if you will, because I live a little closer to West than I do downtown. Nothing against downtown. In fact, downtown tonight is going to be rocking the Jack Buck Awards at the downtown location. We're going to talk with Tom Ackerman in the next hour because he is an IU alum, and we thought that we'd get him on because he went to the game over the weekend as well. But I know that he usually hosts the Jack Buck Awards. I'm guessing he might be getting ready to do that, getting his tux on or his suit on tonight. But the MAC has something called the MAC Historic Preservation Fund. And what they do is they really try to support the long-term maintenance of the downtown clubhouse. A week ago tomorrow was Giving Tuesday, and it's not too late to make a check and make a donation for the Building Preservation Fund. The other thing, and the tickets might be gone already because table reservations opened last week, but the MAC Boxing Championship is coming up. We just wrapped up Guns and Hoses. This is a legendary event that takes place at the downtown location of the MAC. And if you want to find out more about that or anything, go to mac-stl.org today for the Missouri Athletic Club.
Hey, it's Annie. Join us for our annual food drive at Ruler Foods in St. Charles, Friday, December 12th from noon to 3, benefiting the St. Louis Area Food Bank. Stop by, shop Ruler Foods, and make a difference this Christmas season. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush. Call Zero Res. Spots are filling up fast, so don't put it off any longer. Lock in your deal today at ZeroResSTL.com. And happy holidays from all of us at Zero Res.
Don't miss Mosby Building Arts Home Improvement Show, Saturdays from 12 to 1 p.m. on 97.1.
one of the last call-in shows where you can get live answers to your remodeling, design, and construction questions. Tune in Saturdays at noon.
This holiday season, when you get them STIHL, batteries are included. Buy select battery tool sets and get a free extra battery. Visit STIHLUSA.com for gift ideas and seasonal savings. Happy holidays from STIHL. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Frank Cusumano with us here on a Monday afternoon. How are you, Frank?
Very good. Broadcasting live from the Missouri Athletic Club, site of the Jack Buck Awards. You look to your left and you see the Hall of Fame tight end, Jackie Smith. To your right, you see Jim Hart. It's going to be a big night tonight.
Yeah, you talked about this a little bit on Friday, and Jordan Binnington's going to be honored, right?
Yeah, gosh, Mark, I was really hoping and praying they're going to hold on last night. That would have been rough if you would have given up some late goals. But they did hold on. They won it 4-3, and Binnington is the sports personality of the year, mainly because what he did in the Four Nations face-off and what he did for the Blues down the stretch. Certainly not the beginning of this season.
So my guess is you're going to run into Tom Ackerman, who's going to be hosting some of that coverage down there. He's going to join me at 5:20 because he made it up to his alma mater's Big Ten championship game. He's an IU guy. So is our friend Alex Rich, who came on this hour. I mean, what a story for the Hoosiers. And I'm just so glad because I'm just going to tell you, I hate Ohio State just the same way I hate KU because they're always so good. But nobody, none of the experts, no one's saying, you know what, Indiana has a chance. No one even said they have a chance, and they win that game in dramatic fashion. And it's awesome for people even like us here in the Midwest who are fans of Mizzou because we feel, I think there's a relatability that say, you know what, if Indiana can do it, we can do it too at some point.
Yeah, if Indiana can do it in football, certainly Missouri could do it one day if you get the right coach. And that Curt Cignetti is the right guy for the job. And they didn't just win the Big Ten. The quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, he won the Heisman with that third and long pass late in the game to seal the victory. And you know what? It's one thing if you.
Whoops, we lost him there for a second, Ethan. Let's see what happens.
Can you hear me now?
There you are. Yeah, you slipped out for a second. Go ahead. You were saying it's one thing.
Yeah, it's one thing if you win it in a fluky fashion, like some bizarre play. But up front, they stood toe-to-toe, and their defensive line dominated the line of scrimmage. And Julian Sayin, who has been invincible basically since that first game of the season, could not throw the ball to those All-American wide receivers. I mean, they are a legitimate team. It wouldn't shock me at all if they run the table here.
All right, Frank, as great as Saturday was with all the conference championship games, Sunday came the controversy. So we've talked about this leading up these last couple of weeks. What do you think about the College Football Playoff Committee's decision to with the 12 that they put in?
Well, I told you on Friday that Notre Dame was not going to get in, and they didn't get in. And if it came down to a head-to-head with Miami, and you if they have the same record and the same analytics and one team beats you, then you're out. Now, if they want to get rid of this token thing they have by putting in two non-Power 4 teams like they did, that's if you want to have the best 12, that's what you do. You get rid of the token system. But until they do that and they allow these other teams to get in, we're going to have a Notre Dame-like instance every season.
But this goes a step further because, and Ethan and I were talking about this earlier, look, I love Marcus Freeman. I think he's a really impressive guy. They make the decision to not go to a bowl game. They're just going to stay home. They're not going to a bowl. That's rather unusual.
It is, and I'm not sure what purpose it serves for them to go to a bowl game and beat up on BYU. And who knows, with like a guy like Jeremiah Love, he's not going to play in a game that doesn't have national championship implications. He's too much of a valuable football commodity, so Notre Dame wouldn't even be bringing their full team to a bowl game like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, and I said this earlier, I can see both sides of it. I really can. But let's talk about Mizzou. Mizzou, because they're not in the CFP, lost a couple, more games than we would have hoped. They draw Virginia in the Gator Bowl. I like that it's a good evening night. I think it's a couple of nights after Christmas, the 27th.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's a good bowl game. I mean, Virginia is just like a quarter away from being in the college football playoff before they lost to Duke. They've had a terrific season. So that's a good matchup. And Mizzou's got a chance to get to 9 wins, which would give them 30 in 3 years. I mean, I don't know if anybody cares about it besides myself, Eli Drinkwitz, and his family, but still, 30 wins in 3 years is pretty impressive stuff.
I care about it a lot, and I'm, I've been with this program through Woody's Wagon and all we were lucky if we would win 4 games in a year. So I have deep appreciation for drink, and I support the extension, and we'll see what's going to happen heading into next year. All right, we got the baseball winter meetings underway. Anything trickling out of that yet?
No, I just think that you build up rapport at the GM meetings. That Nolan Arenado thing, I don't think is going to get done this week, the more you think about it, because it's a convoluted contract. The Cardinals are going to have to pay a big chunk of it. I think the Rockies still may have to pay a little part of it. And no team is going to say, no good team is going to say, okay, I'm going after Nolan Arenado right now. They got to find out who they don't get and then end up with Nolan. That's why I think it's going to take a little bit of time for that thing to get done. But the Brendan Donovan thing, Mark, when you hear that a legitimate 15 to 16 teams have inquired about Brendan Donovan, this is likely going to get done.
Yeah, I would completely agree that I think it's going to get done. It's just a matter of, waiting to see if it's this week or if it takes a little bit longer. I'm going to jump onto the next sport here, as we tend to do during these few minutes. The NFL, the Chiefs drop another one last night where the offense just looked unconventional. I know that Houston Texans defense has been excellent this year, but traditionally this has been the time of year where Patrick Mahomes and that offense really starts to ramp it up and they make that run, and it just doesn't look like it's in the cards this year, Frank.
Yeah, and I'm sure it wasn't all his fault because there were so many drops. But how about this? In 2 of his last 5 games, he's been under 50% completion percentage. I think in his first 7 seasons, he never had a game where he was under 50%. Wow. And now during this stretch, it's a brutal stat. It's something like that. And look, they're not a playoff team. I don't believe.
No,
I mean,
no. You know what their record is though? 6-7. I had to say that for my daughter. It was mainly for my daughter because we do it. Frank, have fun tonight. I'm not going to make it. I was there last year. I've gone to these awards. They're really, really special. So have a lot of fun, and you'll get some good quips, I'm sure. There's always good sound bites from that stage. There's no doubt about that.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
Take care. So much. That's Frank Cusumano. He's at the Jack Buck Awards tonight at the MAC.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we've got delays out there if you're headed on 270 southbound from Page down to Gravois, 170 on your southbound side, Delmar down to 64 northbound from 70 to Airport Road on your northbound side, westbound 64 from Kings Highway over to Big Bend, eastbound side 170 to Big Bend, and 55 southbound pretty heavy from Arsenal down to Broadway. And this report is sponsored by, we've got things moving along okay on the rest of the area roadways, and we're going to, I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we have football tonight, as we mentioned, and I want to talk about Underdog Fantasy because if you're not up there on Underdog Fantasy, this is your opportunity, and you're going to have a lot of fun with football season being in full swing and you being able to make entries and win money right now in Missouri with Underdog Fantasy. Super easy. I'm going to give you a promo code here in a moment. When you play your first $5, you can get some extra cash to play with. But once you download that app, you come up with a username, then you get on there with the Champions game, and you pick whether your favorite players are going to go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. We got the Eagles in action tonight against the Chargers, so you can pick from a variety of players, and you get your entries right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. So download the app today. Use the promo code MARKR. That gets you $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5 on Underdog. That's promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R. Underdog. Make plays. Win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncbgambling.org.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite.
Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
God, remember when the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Pile were flying around the arch selling flooring?
Andrea, that was the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Tile.
Oh, that's right. But we don't need shtick here at Best Buy Flooring.
That's right, because our in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile are already at low prices.
Come see us at our 3 area locations, North County, South County, and Metro East. Open 7 days a week.
Plus, free financing on approved credit. Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy Flooring.
This is Tom Ackerman. Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella window specialist, and with winter, now is the time to think about Pella windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction to schedule a free in-home consultation and have a banner day.
Hey, it's Annie. Join us for our annual food drive at Ruler Foods in St. Charles, Friday, December 12th from noon to 3, benefiting the St. Louis Area Food Bank. Stop by, shop Ruler Foods, and make a difference this Christmas season. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Presidential control over independent agencies could be expanded. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Supreme Court seems likely to back President Trump's power to fire independent agency board members as it hears arguments over the firing of a member of the Federal Trade Commission.
Attorney Amit Agarwal, arguing for the FTC, noted Congress gave presidents the power to remove certain agency commissioners for cause.
We're talking about more than 24 traditional independent agencies that have been established by statutes enacted by the people's elected representatives and signed into law, all of them by democratically elected presidents.
But Chief Justice John Roberts questioned the precedent here, saying one prior ruling in particular the FTC was relying on was a husk of itself.
In the opinion itself, it described the powers of the agency it was talking about, and they're vanishingly insignificant, has nothing to do with what the FTC looks like today.
During arguments, several justices questioned the increasing power of independent agencies.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. President Trump's former personal attorney, Alina Habba, has resigned as the top federal prosecutor for New Jersey after an appeals court ruled she had been serving in the post unlawfully. Habba making the announcement in a posting on X, but also wrote that the administration will continue to appeal. The Trump administration providing some relief for farmers hit hard by U.S. trade wars. The president announcing a one-time payment totaling $11 billion for farmers that'll be covered by tariff revenue.
This relief will provide much-needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops. And it'll help them continue their efforts to lower food prices.
The farming industry has been asking for help after soybeans and other exports were cut as part of the trade war with China. Wall Street, the Dow lost 216, the NASDAQ minus 32. America's listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online.
and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Even with more and more sunshine returning as we go through our Monday afternoon, it's a cold one, 32-33. Tonight, partly cloudy, 26. Tuesday, cold start, but sunny skies dominate all day Tuesday, and it's warmer. 51 for the high Tuesday afternoon. Last time we were 50-plus was back November 25th. Still okay Wednesday, but then more cold air. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we had a great story that was shared from our friend Alex Rich right after 4 o'clock before Sue's News with Ethan, because Sue wasn't here today. But Alex, who joined us on Wednesday afternoons, who's an IU alum, Indiana, played baseball at the University of Indiana. He literally snuck into the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. It was a legendary story. I can't say that Tom Ackerman did the same thing. Something tells me Tom had some actual tickets. He's the KMOX sports director. He is also going to host the Jack Buck Awards tonight, but Tom's going to join us with some reflections on the CFP and on that game in particular, and just all the hoopla coming up at 5:24. There's a guy coming up at the bottom of the hour. This is interesting. Mark Allen's his name. I've known Mark for a long time. We're not particularly close, but he was a film critic when I was in the Critics' Choice Awards group, which, by the way, the nominations just came out last week, and the Golden Globe nominations came out today. But Mark is from Sacramento, the ABC affiliate there, and I had no idea, but I'm tooling around on Facebook last week, and there's a post that comes up on his site that says that 10 years ago he was arrested for a DUI, and he became friends with the officer who arrested him. He turned his life around. So he really had an amazing story to share, and he's going to join that story, or join us and share that story at 5:30. I'll also have an audio cut of the day coming up. You know, a few years ago, I think we're getting to the third anniversary. I don't think it's the fourth. I think it's the third anniversary of Jamie Reed's piece in the Free Press that really exposed all this gender-affirming care nonsense here at Washington University and Children's Hospital. Luckily, it took a little while. It took the help of a couple of attorneys general in Eric Schmidt and Andrew Bailey, but that clinic finally closed down. And we got a lot of things kind of cascading at the same time across the planet with some of this gender nonsense kind of falling, the house of cards falling down. Well, now there's more. And it, the one thing about all these stories, and it's amazing to me that the gender activists don't get this, that they all have very similar themes and stories. If you listen to what we're about to tell you, and you think about Jamie's piece that was in the Free Press a couple of years ago about how, and I like to point this one out because it's an extreme example. There was one young man that came in who was having sex with dogs, and the decision on the part of these brilliant gender-affirming care physicians was, hey, let's not check that kid's mental health. Let's hop him up on some puberty blockers and cut his penis off, or something to that extreme. Maybe they didn't cut the penis off. Maybe they just considered cutting the penis off. Leor Sapir is with us. He wrote about some things relating to all of this in the Free Press last week. It got some attention. I'd like to shine a little bit more light on it. Leor, how are you? Welcome back to 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis.
I'm doing well, Mark. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
This is, as you know, I kind of call us a little bit of ground zero on this gender stuff because of the story that I referred to with Jamie Reed being the whistleblower, and that really did draw a lot of attention to this. But you've got some videos here that you exposed last week with some folks that work in these clinics like the one that existed here in St. Louis, and some of the things that are caught on tape are just staggering and stunning, aren't they?
They are. These are videos that were obtained through a lawsuit in Alabama, where the leading organization promoting so-called gender-affirming care for both children and adults, that's the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, it was ordered in that lawsuit to turn over all internal communications and videos from conferences related to it, how it developed its medical standards. And major revelations were published last year showing smoking gun evidence of a medical scandal. But there were other videos that were held and have not been released, or I should say had not been released until Wednesday of last week, which is when my story in the Free Press came out and first discussed them.
So let's talk about a couple of videos. And I know you start in your story that was in the Free Press with the story of this person named Sky, who was described as an 18-year-old recent high school graduate who was living on his own for the first time, right? What happened there?
That's right. So Sky comes into the gender clinic at the Oregon Health and Sciences University, and Oregon is one of the most aggressive states in promoting and providing gender-affirming care to minors and to adolescents. And so Sky shows up at their clinic, and Sky reports being asexual, never having had sex, and having no desire to have sex in the future. And Sky actually said that he didn't want to have any pleasurable sensation, and he hoped he could that the removal of all erogenous tissue would be possible. He said he wanted to look like, quote, a Barbie down there.
Right.
Now, normally in these situations, when you get a young man who's never had sex and wants to just, delete his genitalia, so that's a major red flag. And, in normal times, psychologists would see that and say, okay, this young man clearly needs help. But in the world of gender medicine, everything is filtered through the lens of gender. And because Sky identified as, well, we don't quite know, could be non-binary, could be a eunuch, but because of he bundled this in as a gender identity, the clinicians just affirmed him. And he had 2 letters from mental health people clearing the way for his complete castration.
And in the meantime, you talk about this woman, Amy Penkin, who's a social worker with the transgender health program at the Oregon Health and Science University. And she's talking about this case involving Sky. And her takeaways, or at least one of her takeaways, is, look, you have requests for procedures like this that are growing in numbers, and we can't manage this. We need to have more of these surgeries. We need more experts that can do penile-preserving vaginoplasty, or however you pronounce it, all this stuff. They actually think it's not accessible as it should be. That's one of the missions.
That's correct. That's correct. So they're seeing a very sharp rise in the number of young people presenting with identities that are neither male nor female and wanting to modify their bodies accordingly. And at the time, this conference was held in 2021 when this video came out. Or the video is from 2021. At the time, the WPATH did not have its most recent guideline that explicitly permits, in fact, recommends these types of procedures. And so one of the things that Amy Penkin says on that video is, we're getting all these requests, but these procedures are not in the guidelines. So therefore, we have to go outside of the guidelines, even though there's no recommendation, there's no formal recommendation, there's no evidence to support this stuff. It's basically whatever the patients want is what we should be providing.
Yeah, so they say their goal is to fulfill the embodiment of desires of their patients, whatever they may be, and doing this may require deviating from guidelines. That's not exactly how healthcare is supposed to work, I don't think, but that's what's happening here. They're just, as you pointed out, they're just winging it. That's the takeaway. That's frightening.
That's right. This isn't medicine. I mean, that is the central conclusion from lots of revelations that have come out in the last few years, including Jamie Reed. This whole area operates as if it's medicine. It tries to get insurance coverage. It tries to protect itself in lawsuits against age minimum laws. But one of the most interesting revelations from the videos that I watched, and this is hardly the first time that I've seen gender clinicians say this, is that when they speak to each other in private settings, when they think that the public is not listening, they say things that are very different from what they say to the general public, to regulators, even to parents. Because what they say to the public is this is medicine. It operates just like any other area of medicine. What we're doing is mental health care. These kids are going to be depressed or even kill themselves if they don't get these interventions. But when they speak to each other, they don't say that. They don't say that they're treating a mental health condition. In fact, they explicitly deny that there's anything wrong from a mental health perspective with these adolescents and young adults. And they don't even say that they're treating gender identity. They're just saying we're just giving kids whatever body types they want.
Right. So here's an example from your piece. There's Haley Baines, who is at a children's hospital gender clinic, and they present a composite case at this conference in 2022. She describes a boy who's 13 years old, who identifies as non-binary, she, they pronouns, whose stated goals are, I want tits and I want my parts to still work. The boys and his parent, who also identified as non-binary, were both surprised to hear fear that hormones could compromise his future fertility. The clinicals team role, Baines explained, was to understand how impacts on fertility and the ability to have erections fit in within the boy's goals. When the boy responded, the 13-year-old boy, by the way, responded with "C'est la vie," the parent who wanted biological grandchildren started crying. And the parent was also trans? Is that what, or non-binary? That's what's also interesting in cases like this. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, this is one of those cases where any responsible, sane clinician looks at a situation like this and says, "This boy is clearly confused. He wants to have both male and female sexual parts. He wants both parts to work, and he doesn't care that he's giving up his future fertility. He thinks that he is neither male nor female. Something here is deeply wrong." And instead of offering kids like this counseling to try to get them back on track, there's an entire subspecialty of medicine with institutional infrastructure at places like prestigious academic hospitals like OHSU who offer them hormones and surgeries instead of counseling.
Yeah, and again, that's what every time we talk about something like this, it just further vindicates what Jamie wrote in that piece from a few years ago. It all matches up, whether you go to the Tavistock Clinic in the UK or some of the other things that have been exposed with detransitioners. The narrative is pretty similar now that it's being exposed, isn't it?
It is. It is. I mean, this area of medicine has a kind of an internal logic. And when you start to understand that internal logic, nothing is surprising anymore. I hate to say it, but it's true. The systematic dismantling of all safeguards, the fact that they let kids make their own medical decisions, and when parents are skeptical or say no, they twist their arms and threaten that their kids are going to commit suicide if they don't consent. Anything that is normally a red flag for a mental health professional is just waved away. It's really tragic, but this is what's going on, in the United States and in other Western countries. And the videos that we've obtained through the Alabama lawsuit show this pretty clearly.
All right, Leor, one more area. I'm going to have you explain this one. Can you explain the standards of care that is described as eunuchs with WPATH?
Right. So when most people hear eunuch, they think about a form of punishment that used to be imposed on men, or the castration of young boys in order to ensure that they could have a high-pitched singing voice. WPATH has redefined eunuch to be a type of person, a gender identity. And WPATH says that young children can know that they are eunuchs from a very early age. And it has a special chapter in its latest standard of care dealing specifically with eunuchs and their desires for castration. And so one of the videos that I looked at, this specific video actually had been published before, but one of the videos that I looked at was from the relevant part of the WPATH conference where two of the authors of the eunuch chapter presented. And when they were asked, how do we get more doctors to come into this field, considering that doctors who are reluctant to perform these types of castrations may fear getting their license pulled because what they're doing is so radical. The authors of the eunuch chapter responded by saying, look, that's why we wrote this chapter in the standard of care, so that they could basically get cover from us, from WPATH, so that they wouldn't think that it's completely outside of normal medicine. So WPATH folks are admitting that they're writing recommendations in order to lure more gender doctors into the field.
What is the status of the case that this all kind of surrounds, where the videos got released in Discovery? That's still moving forward?
That case basically was resolved by another case which reached all the way to the Supreme Court. The Tennessee case, U.S. versus Skermeti, was decided by the Supreme Court that basically states can constitutionally limit these interventions. So that had effects on Alabama, and so Alabama case is effectively over.
You can take, we always talk about the fairness issue with sports. That's something obviously that comes to the forefront when I talk about these issues, or when other, folks that have passion like Riley Gaines, I had Michelle Tafoya on last week, we talk about these things. But in this particular situation, I don't understand how anyone could read this or watch these videos or hear what people are saying and come away and say, yeah, that's what doctors should be doing. That's cool. That kind of fits the role. They went to school for 8 years to do this, to mutilate children.
I think that's right. I mean, the vast majority of Americans of whatever political persuasion, including liberals, when they actually see what's going on, when they hear gender clinicians speak, they say, no, this is wrong. This is not medicine. This should not be happening. The problem is that in policy debates and in the court of law, the folks who are gender clinicians or who defend the gender medicine field, they present different types of cases. They present, the child who has been identifying as the opposite sex for many, many years. And they say things like it's extremely rare that these kids are offered interventions. There's hours and hours of mental health assessment that they have to go through. It's just not true.
No, it's not true.
But they present a very different clinical picture to the public.
Great reporting in here. I don't know if I ever want to see these videos. Leor Sapir, thank you so much for coming on. And the report obviously is in the Free Press. I'm a big fan of the FP.com. Thank you, Leor.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Okay, some slowdowns if you're on 170 southbound, Olive down to 64 now. On your northbound side from 70 up to Airport Road, 270 southbound, slow spots from Olive down to Gravois. Just spots, nothing heavy. 64 westbound is heavy from Kings Highway to Big Bend. Eastbound side from 170 over to Big Bend, slow. And we got 55 southbound, still slow through that work zone from Arsenal down to Broadway. This report is brought to you by Point with an E, Pest Control. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Tired of mice? Point Pest Control finds their entry points, eliminates the infestation, and seals them out for good with our exclusion services. Mention Annie to get 10% off on top of any other special. Call 636-798-0023. Visit Point with an E, pointpestcontrol.com.
I know that in past years we've had conversations with Susan L. Ward, who's a family practice attorney. We ask her, and we can do this even in a few weeks, when do you get the most calls? It's usually right after the first of the year, because what's happening, and maybe this is happening in your situation, is that the couple knows that they're heading toward, the dissolution of a marriage, but you want to get through the holidays, right? Thanksgiving just passed, so you want to keep things together. And then her phone rings off the hook on January 1st. Now, what Susan's told me, and she shared this with the audience in the past, is if you think that the marriage is coming to an end, do not put that call off for another 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. Make the call now so you know what you're doing and you're not going to make mistakes that could go back to haunt you. That would be her advice. That's my advice as well. They had a ton of experience here at the office, which, by the way, is brand new. They have new surroundings in De Pere at Manchester and 270. Great location. Susan has an awesome website at stlfamilylaw.com. You can find out information about the firm, what they do. There's some blog posts up there, and, of course, the confidential consultation form. So call Susan L. Ward. Family practice attorneys here in St. Louis. They're going to help you. They can get you through a very difficult time. 314-783-9400. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code NEXT for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code NEXT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code NEXT.
Fast-paced, fact-based, and never boring. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Well, Ethan, as you know, we got a legendary story from our friend Alex Rich today on how he literally snuck into the Big Ten championship game. It's a crazy story. We aired it at 4 o'clock. You can use the Odyssey Rewind app. Something tells me it's going to be featured Christmas week as a best-of conversation because it was so good. Now, I have 2 people in my life that are huge IU guys. One is Alex. The other one is KMOX Sports Director Tom Ackerman, who's with us tonight. And I texted both of them yesterday. Had no idea that both of them were at the game, I think separately. You didn't sneak in like Rich did you, Tommy? Did you go in legally?
No, sir. He told me the story. He texted me as I was getting ready to leave Bloomington. I stayed in Bloomington, and he said, call me when you get on the road. I have an unbelievable story to tell you, the greatest ever. And I'm like, what in the world? Because I thought Alex has told me some amazing stories through the years, so this has to be
us too.
Epic.
Yeah, and he didn't overhype it.
I said, "How do you get yourself in these situations?" It's just amazing.
It really is.
Great. No, I bought my ticket actually online early, and then watched the prices spike when Ohio State won to get into the Big Ten championship, and it was just an unbelievable day.
You know, there's something about this for guys like me and maybe others who are Mizzou fans, and we had some high hopes this year, but I'm tired of the Michigans and the Ohio States, and I really am bored by Big Ten football overall. But I love this Indiana story, and it was so fun to watch this, especially as I kind of told you in the text, as you know, nobody was picking Indiana. Like, they didn't even give them a chance if you listen to the so-called experts.
It's incredible because you're talking about the second-ranked team in the country. You know, the team that went to Oregon and won 30-20 and dominated the football game. The team that hasn't lost a game this year. The team that lost to Ohio State and Notre Dame last year in the playoffs. And I think that everybody still thought that was the team. This team is way different. This team is loaded with talent, and this team was ready to go toe-to-toe with Ohio State. But even for me, I mean, it's just surreal to see them even run out of the tunnel onto the field with Indiana painted in one of the end zones and Ohio State in the other, and everyone's wearing bracelets that light up, coordinated like you're at a concert. And I'm looking around like, geez, I mean, I remember going to Memorial Stadium in Bloomington. I mean, those are my IU memories. And then Here we are with this incredible atmosphere. But they played, Mark, incredibly well. They thrive off of this. I already looked. I haven't looked too deep into it yet, but I looked at the Athletic. They handicapped the bracket, and not one of the writers picked Indiana to win it all. They picked Ohio State and Georgia. So, you know, here we go again. And that's exactly what IU wants.
Right.
They want you to doubt them.
Yes.
They actually thrive off of that.
So, Tom, you talked a little bit about what, you know, the expectation going in was, how they had kind of been counted out, and obviously you're the homer, which is fair. But what was your expectation? Did you? I mean, I know they were only a 4.5 point underdog, but did you, in your heart of hearts, did you think that they were going to do this, or were you as surprised as a lot of the national media was as well?
No, what I thought was going to happen, Ethan, was that it was going to be a low-scoring game, that Curt Cignetti would not let this game get away from him, and that if they were to win the game, they were going to have to limit mistakes, and they absolutely 100% could not turn the ball over, which they did one time, and they also just had to control the line of scrimmage, and that's how they won the game. They got into the backfield. They beat Ohio State's offensive line, and once I saw that start to happen, it was like the Oregon game all over again. I mean, they were getting through the offensive line and getting into the backfield. And after Fernando, I'll tell you, the moment that I had some doubt was 9 seconds into the game. Fernando Mendoza gets absolutely blasted on the first play of the game. He's down. He gets hit right in the chest, and he's down for a while. And he said at that moment he could just lay there on the ground, or he could get up and fight for his teammates. He gets up. He comes back after one play. And when that happened, I think the offensive line pretty much decided we're not going to let them touch this guy again. And that was the name of the game right there. Indiana's done it all year. They've done it for 2 years. Their line has been exceptional on both sides. And once that happened, the skill players take care of the rest. Although the other blow was Omar Cooper, who might be their most talented player on either side of the ball, goes out the third play of the game. He's limping off. He's the one who made that insane catch against Penn State. He's done for the game. So they did all of that without Omar. And I expected it to be a tight game. I expected it to be low scoring, and it was that very thing. But still, to come away with the victory just felt like a dream. It actually felt like a dream walking in and out of Lucas Oil Stadium.
Do you have a ticket for the national championship game yet?
I will be acquiring a ticket, I believe, to the Rose Bowl, and we're going to go from there.
Yes.
The Rose Bowl, January 1st. But have I booked a flight to Miami just to have one? Yes, I have.
Oh, you're smart. That is amazing. I'm so happy for you guys, just because I love this story of the Indiana Hoosiers. Now, you are hosting the Jack Buck Awards tonight, right? You're getting ready for that at the NAC.
Yeah, and tonight's great. I mean, it's really a cool night. It's going to be live on KMOX at 8. With the honorees are Jordan Bennington, John Rooney, Jim Hart, Bob Ramsey, Earl Austin Jr., Matty DiMaria, who is the National Soccer Player of the Year, plays for Koryezu. And there are some other surprises in there as well. The presenters, I think people are going to absolutely love. We got a Hall of Famer. We got a legend introducing Jordan Bennington. It's going to be an awesome night. And it's just, one of those special things, 56 the awards. It was 1970 when Jack Buck decided to start this, and so such a great tradition. I'm ready to go. I'm going to head downtown here shortly, actually, and host it, and it's an honor to do so.
Hey, last year I was at the awards. I can't make it tonight. I had a conflict, but last year Brady Cook was on that stage, and he just got into his first NFL game against the Jets. Now, he didn't play very well, but he got into the game yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, and did you see Cody Schrader just got signed by the Houston Texans?
I didn't see that, but that's awesome, too. Look at that. All right, Tom, hey, thank you for sharing your joy and your agility. I mean, just watching Mendoza after the game and the smile on his face in that interview was so cool. So have fun with all this, and have fun tonight at the Jack Buck Awards.
I don't. Thank you. I don't have an NFL team, but I've decided that my next NFL team will be whoever drafts Fernando Mendoza.
That's not a bad choice.
Although
there you
my
go.
Be the number one.
My daughter said, "Dad, what if the Rams do?"
Ooh.
And I said, "Well, good luck, Fernando."
Yeah, it's not going to be the Rams. It's going to be the Raiders.
Yeah.
So you and I are going to Vegas next year. All right, see you, Tommy.
All
Take
right,
care.
man.
Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Some slow spots like on 270 southbound that go from Olive down to Gravois. We've got 170 on your northbound side from 70 to Airport Road, a little slow and heavy southbound from Olive to 64. 64 westbound Kings Highway over to Clayton, slow going eastbound from 170 to Big Bend, and 55 southbound past Arsenal down to Broadway is pretty heavy. This report is sponsored by Aspen Contracting Siding by Aspen.com. Is your home siding cracked, faded, or storm damaged? Aspen Contracting has the materials, manpower, and project managers to get the job done fast. Don't let your home become an eyesore. Call Aspen today for your free siding inspection. 636-465-1696. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is hiring residential garage door technicians and installers. Apply today, get a call today. Hiring bonus up to $4,000. Benefits include health, dental, vision, and pension. Apply today at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Hey, Stewie, I'm hearing mortgage rates have plummeted. The Fed's making moves. Is this the moment where folks can start saving some money?
Annie, I'm so excited, and you should be too. This is a great opportunity. Now, there's numerous ways to go ahead and save money. One is go from rate A to rate B, reduce it at no cost with the bagel loan, and save $100, $200, $300, $700 a month. Another way is to reduce the term. We took a customer, went from 29 years left on the loan to 20 years. Their payment went up $35 a month, and guess what? They saved $170,000 in interest.
Does that mean we should wait, or should we act right now?
Well, that's a good question. People ask me this all the time. The Federal Reserve is going to cut the rates. Maybe I should wait. No, the market goes ahead and adjusts for potential rate cuts in the future. So the rates are typically lower than when the Federal Reserve actually does something about it. So go ahead and refinance now. Later on, if rates go ahead and drop, we can always refinance you for free again with the bagel loan.
Contact my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan and MLS number 226715.
This year, do Christmas
shopping at a discount and locally. This is Ryan Wiggins inviting you to Second Generation Distribution in Roxana, Illinois. It's a family-owned wholesale store full of treasures, and the inventory is constantly changing. Stocking stuffers, presents, gift cards, candies, chips, snacks, and my favorite Little Debbie products, all at discounts up to 75% off the food, too. Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5, 301 South Old Edwardsville Road in Roxana, Illinois, or shop them online. Second Generation Distribution for Christmas.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Troy, Missouri to Troy, Illinois. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Yeah, the Golden Globe nominations came out today. The Critics' Choice nominations came out last week. We spoke with Paul Hall about that on Friday. I used to be a member of that organization. For many years, I would go to Hollywood and I'd do some what they call junkets, interviewing, cast members, et cetera. And I aired those on Channel 4 on Great Day St. Louis. And then the pandemic hit, and then my daughter got a little older, and, there are a lot of sports involved. So I don't go and do that as much. And I'm at peace with it. I'm a fan of seeing movies in the theaters. But I got to know a lot of people when I was going out to Hollywood. And one of the guys that I got to know is a guy by the name of Mark Allen from Sacramento. And I follow him on Facebook, and I'm just tooling around Facebook, mainly just causing trouble on some stuff with some people about politics, which I should know better to do at this point. But Mark posted last week something that really caught my attention. It said, 10 years ago, where did time go? 10 years ago, I was found in the driver's seat of my parked car, more than twice the legal limit. I'm grateful every day that I hadn't hurt myself or anyone else, because I easily could have. In and of itself is a miracle. And the story kind of goes on from there, and it's fascinating. Now, as with many of you, I have addiction issues in my family. Look, I haven't had alcohol since 1990, November 2nd, 1990. And, I think a lot of us, especially if you go back to the 80s, you'd say, I can't believe that I wasn't pulled over for a DUI, or that I didn't hurt someone or hurt myself. And it was one of those, oh, but for the grace of God moments. And I got very lucky, and I guess Mark did as well. But he joins us tonight to share this story from Sacramento, California. Mark S. Allen, how are you?
An honor to catch up with you this way, sir.
It's been, I was looking at the last damn junket I did in Hollywood was 2019, The Irishman. It's been that long, which is kind of hard to believe.
Yeah, what a great event. And, we did a lot of interviews with a lot of famous Academy Award-winning members, and there was a huge party that night. And as you were saying that you got sober in 1990, I'm trying to think, wow, does he know the drunk me in L.A. or the sober me in L.A.? But that was a night where booze was free-flowing, and I wasn't drinking. I'm proud to say that among the last times we were together, I was the sober version of you.
I think I saw the Mark Allen. I don't know if I saw, wasted drunk, but I certainly saw you having some fun with some of the other critics. But then when I saw this post, I thought, really, it resonates with a lot of people. I think you see someone like that who had something like that happen. But then I also find it interesting because you mentioned that the officer who arrested you that night is now a friend of yours, Mark.
Yeah, very quickly. I knew at that time that I didn't want to hide from this, and you and I have peers, and certainly we know people that are in the industry, movie stars and movie producers and the likes, that will quickly get some spin doctor to get behind it, brush it off, and make it less than it was. And I knew I wanted to do the opposite, to put it in front of me, just to be completely honest about it and maybe save some lives in doing so.
So what was happening back then? Can you kind of give us the background of the story that led to that night?
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think I've never been addicted to anything. I don't classify myself as an alcoholic, but certainly the parties were coming closer together. Mm-hmm. As you know, in Hollywood, wherever there's a party every night, every organization on any given night is having some big year-ender or some celebration. And if you're in a circle where you're going to a lot of those in a row, they just come too quickly, and often you start living for those. And that was just me. I was always looking forward to the next party. And I had just left a big holiday Christmas party, having had too much to drink, and went to an after party and had even more to drink. Mm-hmm. And got on the freeway, realized I was in no business to be driving, pulled off to try to get my phone charged to get a Lyft or an Uber, and was struggling trying to find the power cable. And then like an alien abduction, like that scene out of Close Encounters, my car was completely illuminated. It's because there were 13 different flashlights shining in. And I knew my life was going to change forever at that time. And it did. I was arrested and publicized the event and talked very explicitly about what had happened and that I was going to do time and that my life was going to change. And called the arresting officer just short of a year later to say, look, I'm on the right path, I believe. Would you be interested in doing a live broadcast with me, actually riding along in the vehicle in the area where I was arrested? And we did it, and it just became an annual tradition, and we got to know each other. It first started out just being an annual, ride along where I would broadcast and talk about what happened at night, what he saw, how he discovered me. And then we started talking throughout the year, going to blood drives together and just trying to find lots of common good.
That's amazing. Now, did you, when you were punished for this, did you serve some jail time?
I did. I was to do 2 months and ended up doing just short of that. And also, it really was the best thing that could have happened to me, because had they just slapped me on the wrist and had I hired someone to bury it and try to evade some of the time, not do the full punishment, maybe I would have straightened up for a little while and then gone back to bad behavior quickly. And maybe I needed it.
Yeah,
it worked.
Yeah, and I understand that. That's amazing. Well, I think it's an incredible story. And, a lot of us, what we say now, and I think you would agree with this, look, if you go back to the 80s, I'm not offering excuses, but we didn't have Ubers back then, right? So it's so easy. And you see these people that are in really high-profile positions that get into trouble. And even in your situation, you salvaged. Your career has been great. And you didn't lose your job, and you went on to produce a movie this past year, I think I saw as well. But that could have really taken a different turn at the time.
Oh, I could have killed myself or worse. I could have killed other people. And it's almost a miracle that it didn't happen as much as I had that night. And, yeah, you and I are just about on the dot to the exact same age. And back in the day when we were kids or first getting our license, you almost had to be you had to be unable to operate a vehicle to get a DUI back then. Often police would all put you in another car and just send you home. Arrests were fewer, and the blood alcohol content level was higher as a requirement. And I think we got away with a lot more and justified a lot more back then. So I think we're in a better place societally than we were then.
Mark, what have the encounters been when you've done this, this campaign, you've tried to get the message out about DUIs? I'm sure you've met some folks who have had family members maybe that have been taken from them or, terrible accidents, et cetera.
Oh, sure. And as much as I've befriended Alex, my arresting officer, I've gotten to know some people whose lives were changed forever because they lost someone near and dear to them.
Yeah.
Children, spouses, and you just go back to it. I'm a father. I don't want jerks out there driving around drunk, possibly killing my children. I know you were the same. And I was on the wrong side of that. And being on the wrong side of it doesn't mean you can't change that. In this case, I have an opportunity to do some good. So I'm at it. That's my message.
I think it's awesome. I really do. And that's why I wanted to get you on the air. You and I haven't even spoken in several years, but when I saw that on Facebook.
It's wild, like I said, catching up with you this way.
And it's the way that time goes by so quickly. Since I do have you on the movie front, I mentioned your producing role. You had a movie that you put out this year, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's one thing. And my message to everyone out there, if you've got bad habits and you eliminate them, good things will come your way. And when I stopped living for the party and just started focusing more, having the ability to do that, a buddy of ours, someone you've probably interviewed before, Joe Carnahan, he's a famous movie producer, director.
I knew you were friends with him. Yeah. We've talked about Joe before. He's awesome.
Right. Buddy, do you want to start making movies instead of talking about them? And it started getting me thinking about that. I was working on Bad Boys 3 at the time, and I got a tiny little spot as an associate producer and kind of parlayed that. And a 3 weeks ago now, my seventh major motion picture came out. It's called Don't Answer on Prime.
Congratulations on that. That's amazing. Are you still doing the critic work as well? Are you still going to Hollywood and doing the junkets, or is that something in your past?
Yeah. I remember year one gladly accepting you into the membership. Myself and some peers started that. I was one of 12 people in a tiny little room eating crappy sandwiches talking about movies. And we brought you in at the height of the membership, 500 plus strong.
And I was honored. I was honored at the time. And, I got to know Rod Lurie, who was one of the guys that organized or came up with the organization. I think we lost Jim Ferguson. He was one of the legends. Didn't he pass away recently?
Yeah, such a good guy. He was in the room too. So it was Joey Perlin, the president, Rod Lurie, Jim Ferguson, and the rest of them.
One of the last things I told Joey Berlin, who runs the organization, and I don't think I had anything to do with this, but I said, I sent some positives, I sent some criticisms, and I said, man, I wish that we would go back to the way we used to do it, which was the Critics' Choice Awards come out before the Golden Globes because I don't like the way that the Globes might influence the Critics' Choice. And last week, the awards came out before the Golden Globes. I think that's a wise move into the future for Critics' Choice. I just like it better. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I always thought that was our strong suit because how are we ever going to catch up or surpass the Golden Globes if we're not first out of the gate? And for a while we were, and that's when we saw the biggest momentum. And this year we're back to it. And yeah, thanks for putting that in there. You were heard.
Yeah, maybe I was. Mark, great story. Thank you for joining me. I hope all is well, and congratulations with all the success.
Hey, you're a great human being. I miss you in person. Weird to catch up with you this way, but it's so joyful just to get the message out.
There's maybe like 10 people that might remember me. Tell them I said hi. I miss them.
Not true. Not true. I'll spread the word. And happy holidays to you and your wonderful listeners.
You too, Mark Allen. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Yeah, we go. Look, I think I started doing those in about 2008, 2009, and I was in Milwaukee at the time. And Paul Hall, who's my critic here on the station now, Paul was in the Broadcast Film Critics Association is what it was called. And I came to KMOX, and I'm like, hey, I think I belong in this organization. I've been reviewing films since 1987 or so. And they accepted me. I had a lot of fun doing interviews. I would go out there for the awards show in January. I do live broadcasts back to Channel 4, but finally life caught up with me just a little bit, and I'm still a fan of movies and still a fan of seeing movies in the theaters, but just couldn't do it with the time anymore. And again, I think the Hollywood studios backed off. Mark's in a bigger market. They decided Zoom calls were quite, financially efficient, so some of the small markets got cut out of that. I have an audio cut of the day coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
And things are a little slow if you're headed on 170 southbound Forest Park Parkway down to 64. You've got delays on northbound 270 that go from 64 on up to Ladue. Eastbound side of 64 itself is slow past Lindbergh over to Big Bend. Westbound side from Kings Highway to Big Bend. 55's cleared up, 44 not giving you any problems, and 70 is in decent shape as well. This report is sponsored by the Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, Sue is off today. She's going to come back. I mentioned this earlier in the show. It's hard to believe. I mean, she kind of kept this a little bit of a secret at the time, but then we, let everyone know that she was married a year ago. I think yesterday was her anniversary, so she took a few days off to celebrate her 1-year anniversary. She'll be back on Thursday. Audio cut of the day is coming up.
Give something that means something. Roll up your sleeve at the Odyssey Blood Drive in partnership with the American Red Cross, December 16th through the 19th at multiple locations. Make an appointment in the Red Cross Blood Donor app or at redcrossblood.org. Enter sponsor code Odyssey for a drive near you.
This is Tom Ackerman. Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella window specialist, and with winter, now is the time to think about Pella windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction to schedule a free in-home consultation and have a banner day.
What stresses you out about the holidays? Maybe it's getting that house just perfectly clean. If that's the case, call my friends at Zero Res. Mark Cox here. Is your house ready for the holidays? Well, here's your phone number, 314-474-2020. That gets you to Zero Res. Here's the deal. If you need your season to be jolly and you don't want to stress out and you want to make sure the house is perfectly clean to impress your in-laws and your friends when they come over, just remember, you can Zero Res anything. They can do grout and tile and carpet and air ducts and hardwood. It is for your home and your business. Zero Res can handle it all. They do it with zero residue, no harsh chemicals or cleaners, and your house is beautiful. Go ahead and get it clean. Don't miss out. Call 314-474-2020. Tell them you want the 97.1 special. The spots are filling up fast. Go to ZeroResSTL.com.
Accidents happen quickly, especially in rideshares. Whether you're the driver or the passenger, injuries can leave you with more than just physical pain. They bring uncertainty, stress, and questions about what to do next. At Kaufman Townsley, we understand the challenges you face. We're here to help you navigate the tough time, fight for what you deserve, and get you the support you need. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I have an audio cut of the day here in a couple of minutes, but a little audio to fill with before that I did not get in earlier on the show. I do not know who Anna Kasparian is. Maybe I should know her. She's described as a political commentator, media host. She is the producer of an online show called The Young Turks. But the reason I bring her up is she was on with Bill Maher on his podcast, Club Random. This is the one where he sits around, I think he smokes weed with the guests. It's quite entertaining. It was released today, and it was interesting because on the one hand, and I don't have this audio, on the one hand, I think it's being reported that Kasparian sort of shocked Bill Maher because she's a progressive, and she kind of agreed with him on the issue of men in women's locker rooms, admitting that she had bought the cover story on some of the controversial incidents, but then she realized she was wrong. But this is a little exchange that they had on Western values and women's rights in the Middle East. And Anna Kasparian, despite not knowing who she is, I can tell you that she's quite an attractive woman, and she was wearing a white dress that was relatively revealing. There is a reason for me telling you this because it comes up in the audio, because Bill Maher's trying to say, look, you're sticking up for all these folks in the Middle East. You realize if you were dropped into the Middle East in this dress, they'd behead you.
If you had to live in the Middle East, so tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East, where would you live? You can pick one city, any city. You can, as far away as, say, Pakistan. You could live in Karachi. You could live in Cairo. You could live in Amman, Jordan. You seem to love Lebanon. I mean, Beirut's nice when the bombing's not happening and the assassinations have stopped. Or you could live in Syria. I hear that's wonderful in the summer.
Well, we now have Al-Qaeda terrorists leading Syria.
Or the Houthis, I'm sure, would make room for you.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv, or the West Bank, Ramallah, I think is wonderful for a little, it's in the fall, it gets lovely. Where would you live? What city would you live in?
Well,
where do you think you'd be comfortable in that dress?
I'm sure it would not be comfortable in this dress in any of the various Middle Eastern countries that have been destabilized by
You're not really blaming it on Whitey.
Listen.
Yeah, she is. She's trying to blame the United States.
You're blaming Islam on Whitey?
I'm not blaming Islam on Whitey.
What you're saying is we destabilized. That's why you can't wear that dress?
Did we not destabilize?
Wait a second.
We were funding terrorist organizations in Syria during the Syrian Civil War.
Okay, regardless, and I think Bill is going to make this point, regardless of whether any of that is true, does not take away from the fact that Islam and Muslim fundamentals do not get changed based on whatever the United States or other Western countries might do. This has been in place for a long time, Sharia law.
Starting under the Obama administration.
That's why
Did that not destabilize Syria?
No, what's destabilized...
There's a literal Al-Qaeda terrorist
We're talking about your dress.
Oh,
why
it looks good. I know it looks good.
You're saying you can't wear that dress in Syria because of Whitey destabilizing?
I didn't say that.
Okay,
she kind of did, though. I mean, she says, Bill, you're putting words in my mouth, but you understand what he's doing here. He's making the point.
Words in my mouth.
Okay, great.
But the United States did destabilize various Middle Eastern countries. Are you going to deny that?
And I asked about the dress, and you went right to destabilize. So is that why you couldn't wear that dress? Why couldn't you wear that dress? Why could you walk down?
You want me to talk about jihadism and Islam, but
why won't you?
Listen.
Why won't you?
I mean,
Why?
I don't believe in jihadism, which is why I'm furious that the United States just had a freaking Al-Qaeda terrorist in the White House.
It's not just jihadism that is preventing you from wearing that dress. Are you saying every Muslim is a jihad? I don't think they are.
Bill.
Okay, why can't you wear that dress?
Let's focus for a second.
No, you won't answer this question.
Yeah, she won't answer the question. Well, because she'd be killed if she wore that dress. She couldn't wear that dress in the Middle East. And she's defending all these Middle East countries, and he's trying to flip it around on her, and I think he did quite a good job flipping it around on her. That podcast is rather interesting. He's got the show that airs on Max, but this is a little different where it's a more relaxed climate, and I do believe that the, marijuana is in the air when Bill sits down with many of his guests. Some choose to partake and some do not, but I thought that was a pretty good conversation. Let's do this, though.
Stand by. Playback ready. Initiating.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, We spent a fair amount of time talking with Tom Ackerman a short time ago about the college football playoff in Indiana and everything that's going on with that. And Coach Drinkwitz is heading to the Gator Bowl with the University of Missouri Tigers against Virginia. Didn't make it to the CFP, 4 losses in a very tough conference. But he was asked about some of these decisions. And, one of the things that he's saying, well, I think a lot of what he's saying right here is right on target, because if you're going to make it all about the CFP, well, then these bowls aren't going to mean anything. I mean, to a certain extent, the bowls didn't mean anything in the end anyway, but you're proud to get there, to get your team to a bowl, and you get excited. You get 15 more practices, and the kids get to play a little bit more, and it's also a fun time. Now, you'll hear in the first soundbite here, Drink kind of takes a swipe at Notre Dame. You'll hear it.
People say anytime, anywhere. I guess some people mean it, some people don't. So, for us right now, we got an opportunity to go play in a bowl game. I'm fired up about the opportunity. Everybody's different. Everybody's seasons are totally different. Our goals got changed. When our quarterback got dinged up and injured. And so for us, this is a heck of an opportunity. I think bowl games are really determined by 2 things. One, the location. What an awesome location to get to play in Jacksonville, Florida at an NFL stadium. Have a great experience in Jacksonville. And then the second one is the opponent that you get. I mean, what an awesome thing to get to play the ACC regular season champ. Get to play Virginia. I know it didn't end the way they want to, but that's a quality team.
All right, so he's doing what he needs to do there, and not that he's insincere. I think he's very sincere. But one of the things I like about Eli Drinkwitz is he's not afraid to share some of the tough medicine also. And this is very important, what he says in the aftermath of those comments.
I don't like this playoff or bust mentality. I think it's bad for college football. I think it's bad for the sport. I think the playoffs are awesome. I don't think it's nearly inclusive enough. And then I'll just say this, since we're already on this whole thing, just because viewership is up in college football does not mean that college football is healthy. It does not mean that college sports is healthy. It means that viewership is up, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But for us to maintain the success that college sports are having, we've got to look at it, man. Like, there's no way I think that anybody could think that this calendar is healthy. I don't think there's any way that they can think that this is healthy for the student athlete to constantly be transferring and not getting progress towards degree. To leave college athletics without a degree I think is really bad for the student athlete. I think it's bad for coaches. And we've got to figure all this out because, again, just because viewership is up doesn't mean the sport is healthy.
Okay, can I ask a question? Raise your hand if you're driving. Be careful. Have you heard anyone talk about those topics on ESPN or some of the other sports? And I don't listen to Sports Talk Radio. Maybe they're addressing it there. But those are important issues that need to be handled by universities across the country. He talks about the calendar. You have a situation in the NFL where these guys have to be granted permission to talk. And a lot of times, interviews might be granted, but decisions on your next gig are going to happen after the season ends for a team. Now, the season is going to end for some of these teams in 3 weeks. Some of these teams are going to go into the playoffs. Ben Johnson's a good example of that, going from the Lions to the Bears last week. But in college football, you have the Lane Kiffin situation where the season's not over and your team is going to play in the college football playoff, Ole Miss, but you still take the job at LSU. And a lot of that is because of the calendar, and the way that these kids jump around into the portal is because of the calendar as well. And what they'll tell you is, well, we got to get started now because if we wait until January, all these recruits are gone, so you got to get your coach in place at that very moment. And there's probably truth to that. But I think Coach Drinkwitz is right. It's the Wild West. It's been the Wild West. It's changing a little bit. Some of the rules have changed, but not enough. And then where is the discussion in any way, shape, or form on what he addressed with academics? You go to college to get a degree. What's the percentage of these kids that are getting paid sometimes more than NFL players? Even sometimes more than they would make in the NFL. What's happening with degrees, with actual education? I think that might be a bit of a rhetorical question, unfortunately.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There's some delays on 64 if you're headed westbound from Kings Highway over to about Clayton or Big Bend. Your eastbound side hits the brakes past Lindbergh with a crash reported before McKnight, and then again delays from 170 to Big Bend and 170 southbound from Forest Park Parkway down to 64. This report is sponsored by Aspen Contracting. Siding by Aspen.com. Is your siding dragging down your home's curb appeal? Aspen Contracting can transform your home with the new siding, fast, efficient, and built to last. Don't settle for an eyesore. Call Aspen today for your free siding inspection at 636-465-1696. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You want to